If you've ever been extremely tired of internet outages, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Unfortunately, I am expecting another internet outage today, but we are as prepared as we can for it. Hopefully, company or Comcast gets their act together. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Happy Tuesday, everyone, as we continue to move along this week. I'll be honest, the news kind of light out there overnight, unless you care about Elon Musk losing his court case against Sam Altman and OpenAI. Not really a whole lot going on out there. We did have Home Depot's earnings here today. That might set the stage for what's going on. We've got some red arrows here in the pre-market, so we'll see if we get another bounce here today. But we do have some news to cover. It's Tuesday, which means it's a T3 Tuesday, so we'll hope to get you some trading ideas from that as well. We're going to break down the movers here with 13. We've got Anne-Marie here today, so we're going to go ahead and crush this Tuesday. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for May 19th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday. Sorry, Sabres fans. I did hit my parlay on that game, and the basketball game was bananas. 2 overtimes, couldn't even make the end of the game. Absolutely bananas. But we're back for another market day here today. Let's get that bread here. Solitary Soldier, first here today. Good morning and welcome back. It is great to see you. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Zach McCracken, good morning. And good morning to the Benzie gang. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Yes, that girl, good morning. Peter, it's great to see you. It's still cool and rainy there. All right. Well, at least it's not 1,000,000 degrees yet. That's coming, though. Cad Monkey, good morning. Welcome back. Linda, it's great to see you again. Welcome back. Producer, thanks for all you do, boss. Cynthia, good morning. Welcome back. Azrar, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. It's good to see you again. Richard Judge, good morning. I'm not sure if anyone told you, but today is going to be a great day for you. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. We're going to see to that, right? Happiness is a choice, Judge, and that's what we're going to make here today. Chuck, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Cam, good morning. Welcome back. Neville, good morning. It's great to see you. Jeff Freeman, good morning. Welcome. Nancy, good to see you again. You're going to have 90 in Maine today. Oh, it's going to be hot up in Maine. Let me ask you, do you get humid weather up there, or is it so far north that it's not all that humid? 90 sounds warm. 90 sounds awfully warm. Not quite that warm here, thankfully, but it's coming. Kenneth, good morning. Welcome back. Big Bees, good morning. Welcome back. Yeah, you need a new provider. You have a choice. So I actually don't have much of a choice from where I'm at. The fiber choices are not totally out in this area, so it's really cable. Comcast knows that, and they exploit it, and they don't care about customers. That's the other thing. But you're right, Big Bees, I definitely need another one. So every day that this happens, Starlink sounds better and better. I'm not going to lie. Ed, good morning. Welcome back. Astro Kev, good morning. Welcome back. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. How can I get that backdrop? You can ask the producer. I don't know if he's going to share it, though. That's a work backdrop. Producer, let Chuck know. Alvin, good morning. G-Cord, good morning. JJ, good morning. It's great to see you again, man. Richard, another Richard, good morning. Bobcat, good morning. Bobcat says Starlink. Bobcat, do you have Starlink? Do you like it? What are 3 pros and 3 cons of Starlink? I probably already know the pros. Let me know what the cons are, though. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. Futures are red across the board here ahead of Tuesday morning's open. S&P futures down 0.46%. The Dow futures down 0.28%. That's being affected by Home Depot, which is down slightly. And the NASDAQ futures down 0.8 or 0.8%. Let's take a look at some cues from last session and what's going on here today. Energy, financial, and consumer staple stocks recorded the biggest gains on Monday, as most S&P 500 sectors closed on a positive note. Meanwhile, information technology and industrial stocks closed the session lower. U.S. stock futures were lower as the NASDAQ 100 index fell on Tuesday following Monday's mixed close. Inflation fears gripped Wall Street as Ed Yardeni anticipates an imminent policy shift, noting that the recent CPI and PPI data suggest the Fed is currently, quote, behind the curve on inflation, end quote. Let's see if that's a new term that enters the zeitgeist. He expects the central bank to completely drop its easing stance and adopt a tightening bias at its upcoming June meeting, followed by a 25 basis point rate hike in July. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.6%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.06%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the markets are pricing in a 98.8% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged during the June meeting. Now, again, that's during the June meeting. That's actually come down 1% from the last reading that we took. Ed Yardeni just gave you an insight that he thinks July might be the meeting that something gets moved and the direction has changed from the rate cut to a potential rate hike. So we'll see how that shakes out over the next several weeks here. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one is going to be XP Inc. The ticker is XP. And it was 6% lower in the pre-market on Tuesday as it reported worse than expected first quarter financial results. The company also named Gustavo Alejo Vivani as CFO starting on August 3rd. The next stock on our list is going to be Akamai. Ticker is AKAM, and it declined 2.5% after announcing plans to commence a $1.3 billion senior notes offering. The next stock on our list is going to be Atmos Energy, and the ticker is ATO, and it jumped 10.13% following its strong second quarter earnings with a net income of $581.9 million and raised its annual dividend by 14.9%, $4 per share. Big jump there in the dividend. The next stock on our list is going to be General Electric, which is ticker GE. And it was up 0.17% as Japan Airlines signed a 10-year maintenance and overhaul deal with GE Aerospace to cover its Boeing 787 fleet. The last stock on our list is going to be Toll Brothers, and the ticker on this one is TOL. It declined 0.13% as analysts expected to report earnings of $2.58 per share on revenue of $2.41 billion after the closing bell today. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart and see where we sit. So yesterday actually kind of gave us a neutral candle, kind of. We closed at about unchanged, although technically we were a little bit down, was a little weak. It definitely felt weaker throughout the day than the actual closing print did. And it did give us this candle that has kind of a bullish look to it. It's almost hammer-like. But we'll see how today shakes out. I don't want to put too much into that. The downside levels here, they're still the same. It is going to be the gap, which is about 725 to 728. And our 20-day moving average is shifting around within that gap at the moment. It's currently at 726.87. So I would expect that entire range of 725 to 728 to be at least some type of support if we continue to move down. If we take a look inside at the SPY chart today, one of the things that you'll notice is that 734.5, depending on where you put your line or your marker, 734.5 has supported the SPY this morning 3 times already. So we'll see if that keeps up here today. This is definitely one level to keep in play after the market opens. You'll also notice that if we scroll back to yesterday, this very same level came into play. As the market was moving down, we actually attempted to bounce from this level, and we made it back to VWAP, but we did probe lower before finally finishing higher. It also looked like we kind of retested this area after moving through it. So I'd be curious to see if the 735 area ends up being let's call it a notable support here today. One to keep your eye on, but I still feel more confident about the gap range and the 20-day moving average that we have sitting slightly below that. So these are the levels that I'm looking at here today. I don't think we're going to make a move back towards the all-time highs, but 750 definitely seems to be a level. And if you look at some of the option statistics, as we cover every day in happy hour, a lot of those have traders positioned around that 750 SPY or 7,500 on the S&P cash. So those seem to be the levels here today. We'll see how it shakes out intraday. One more note here: the SPY VWAP is currently at 736.22. We pretty much always test that throughout the course of the day, even if we do end up selling off all day. So that would be another level there. 736.25 ish would be another level. If we can move through, maybe we can actually get a bounce here. The market has bounced the last couple of times. It's traded down. So if you're nimble, perhaps there's a trade there, something to keep your eye on here today. Let's take a look at some insights from analysts and keep it moving here. According to Jeffrey Roach, chief economist at LPL Financial, the U.S. economy, quote, muddles on, end quote, despite facing localized headwinds. While geopolitical tensions in the Middle East dominate investors' focus, Roach expects the economic expansion, rather, to remain resilient. He notes that, quote, the growth hit remains manageable and should fade as trade adjusts, with the economy likely skirting a recession, end quote. Under his team's baseline expectations, supply chain frictions are forecast to subtract 0.2 percentage points from second quarter real GDP and 0.3 percentage points from third quarter, so 0.2 and 0.3. Crucially, Roach believes these pressures, quote, pose a greater risk to inflation than to economic growth, end quote. If the conflict persists through the summer, it could presumably add a full percentage point to inflation this year. Now, I do want to point out that one of our favorite guests, Tim Melvin, who has come on every week for months, has basically been saying the same thing. It seems like Roach is catching up to Tim in this case. He'll be happy to hear that. Regarding the U.S. stock market, diplomatic negotiations have supported equities. Given the improving macroeconomic backdrop, Roach's committee recently moved its recommendation to a, quote, tactical overweight for equities, end quote. As far as economic data goes here today, April's pending home sales data will be released at 10. The Philadelphia Fed President Anna Paulson will speak at 7. Atlanta Fed President or Fed First Vice President, Cheryl Venable will deliver closing remarks at 7:45. So that will be later today. We'll see if that actually impacts anything. Bitcoin was trading 3.3% higher. It's actually in the red now. It's down by 0.23%, at least the Bitcoin futures. So that's kind of where we sit here today. Now, first story here was actually not a story by one of our writers. I did my best to add it here, but we're going to cover it live because the earnings report just came out this morning and no story was written yet. But we're going to take a look at Home Depot. This is going to be an important report. We also have Lowe's reporting tomorrow, so it's possible that you have a read through on today's report for Home Depot that you can apply to Lowe's tomorrow. We'll start with the chart. You can see here Home Depot really kind of came down. I don't want to call this a triple top. It kind of looks like that. I really don't feel that it behaved that way. We did have this head and shoulders, which played out. And when we came back up, we then tested a trend line. I think it's pretty disjointed from the high that's all the way back in 2022. But if you look at it and you say, that's close enough, you've got a bunch of things lining up. It sure looks like this area up here at 420 to 430-ish is some extreme resistance. Now, it's been a long time since we've been up there. 2026 has been lower for the most part for Home Depot, and we continue to probe lower here. We're basically in the consolidation range from the early 2022, February of 2022, through the end of 2023. So between 2022 and 2023, Home Depot basically stayed in this range, about 265 to 330, thereabouts. And now we're entering back in that range. So if we stay there, those would absolutely be key levels that we'd want to take a look at. If Home Depot continues to sell off, I would expect some support around 275 and then maybe some more at 265. we'll see if we end up getting that there. But let's go ahead and dive into the report itself. I'll leave the chart on here. And the other thing, I'd like to know two things from the group. Number one, if you plan on trading Home Depot to any side, long side, short side, long-term, short-term, whatever, I would like to hear about that. And if you're looking at Home Depot's report and you're thinking about how you can execute a trade on Lowe's, which reports tomorrow, I would love to hear that as well. So just as kind of the backdrop here for the Home Depot report, looking for those kind of things here from the group. Home Depot, ticker HD, reported quarterly earnings this morning, and shares are about flat. I guess they've sunk a little bit more, down about 1% here. But at the time of putting this together, they were about flat. Home Depot reported Q1 adjusted EPS of $3.43. That actually beat the $3.41 estimate, so a small beat there by 2 cents. Sales came in at $41.765 billion. That beat the estimate of $41.534 billion. Home Depot also affirms fiscal year 2026 adjusted EPS guidance of $14.69 through $15.28. That was versus an estimate of $15.06. So that's kind of in line. They affirmed fiscal year 2026 sales guidance of $168.8 billion to $172.093 billion. That was versus an estimate of $171.259 billion. So it was technically a beat, but it wasn't a huge beat, and it was fairly in line here, just on the surface. Now, I have some positives from this report. The first one here is that sales grew 4.8% to $41.8 billion, and comparable sales turned positive at 0.6, which is better than last year's negative 0.3 comparable number. U.S. comparable sales were also positive at 0.4, and this actually suggests the core domestic business is stabilizing rather than deteriorating. And I think what's interesting there is that we keep going back and forth with this dichotomy of, well, Home Depot is basically the store for people that own homes, right? And a lot of newer buyers can't penetrate the home market. They have to rent or they have to live with somebody else. And as a result, they're not shopping at Home Depot. But that's juxtaposed against the other barbell, if you will, the other side of the bar, where folks that I hesitate to use this word, but folks that feel trapped in their home, in other words, they can't necessarily move because they're locked into a lower interest rate and are unwilling to give that up for an interest rate that's double that or more. That's the case that I'm in. They're not upgrading and instead, they're not buying new homes and instead would rather upgrade the existing home. So I think it's this dichotomy that Home Depot is really trying to balance right here. I would imagine that, it's one of those things where as housing starts to pick up, so too will the stock price in Home Depot. But the comparable sales number there, that is suggesting that domestic business is stabilizing, not deteriorating. So that's definitely a positive. Last one here, cash from operations was strong at $6 billion, and the company reaffirmed full-year guidance. That signals management confidence. Now, as I was mentioning there, it wasn't all roses in this report. Net earnings fell to $3.289 billion. It fell from $3.43 billion, and diluted EPS declined from to $3.30 from $3.45. So a little bit of pressure there. Operating income dropped 3% and operating margin compressed to 11.9%. That came down from 12.9%. So margin compression of 1% there. And that shows that the higher costs are actually eating into profitability. So this inflation, tariffs, all of that stuff is reducing Home Depot's profitability here. Comparable customer transactions fell 1.3%. And this means that growth is being driven more by larger tickets than more shopping trips. So people are still going to Home Depot when they need to do things like redo a room or buy a new appliance. They might be going to Home Depot less for some of like the weekend warrior side projects. And that's kind of the read that we get on the comparable sales there. Glad that they're still positive, but transactions falling 1.3% tells us that there's probably less foot traffic in the store. Now, Home Depot is often viewed as a consumer barometer. Per the report, the consumer now looks cautious, but not broken. And that's a key because this could still go in either directions. I know that there's a lot of bearish views out there, recession, this, that, and the other thing. Well, we're not there yet, at least according to the Home Depot consumer, but not out of the woods yet. So we'll have to see if any of this turns around. Home Depot said that underlying demand was relatively similar to fiscal 2025, but it also pointed to greater consumer uncertainty with housing affordability pressures. And that fits the data, right? Fewer transactions, but a higher average ticket price. So the data seems to align here. And in conclusion here, I haven't said in conclusion since I wrote a paper in college. But anyway, in conclusion, it's not necessarily a weak report in the classical sense if we compare this to other Home Depot reports, because sales were still growing and guidance was maintained. We've seen that not be the case before. But it's also not a clean beat. Profitability is clearly softer and traffic is down. So the stock reaction would likely depend on whether investors focus more on the return to positive comps, or do they focus on the margin pressure that we outlined? So again, curious to hear what you folks think on Home Depot. Is there a trade here in Home Depot today? Does this actually lead to a trade for lows? Is the read-through on the consumer important to you? I'd be very curious here. Lion here saying the economy starts to show some cracks and problems, and as a result, Home Depot may come into 250. 250 is a little bit lower than the support levels that I have, but Lion, I would agree with you that, well, I don't know if this is what you're saying. Maybe I should ask you first, but I would say if Home Depot comes into 250, I would suspect that that would be a long swing entry opportunity. That's how I would approach it as a trader there. Inline is not enough anymore, Ryan. That is 100% true. That is 100% true. If you report inline, maybe your stock doesn't get pounded, but you're probably not going to have those big upside moves unless the guidance is really good. Okay. HD puts is the way to go here. Okay, so one trader here thinking HD puts. If you've got your, that's okay. Let me know. When it comes to renovation, it's always important to check household debt ratios. That is key to knowing the ability for people to refi and pull out equity for home improvements. That is especially true for some of the bigger home improvements. Like if you're going to redo a bathroom or a kitchen or something like that, you probably would rely on a home equity line of credit, a HELOC loan, and rates are still high, right? So you're still paying more to borrow that money. That's a good point. And again, we'll see how all of that changes here, and we'll see if Lowe's reports anything else. But good stuff there on Home Depot. Okay, the next story here, Michael Burry is in the news making some more headlines. This one is about more bubble fears here. Michael Burry says today's AI debt bubble mirrors the dot-com era. We've heard this before, haven't we? Famous investor Michael Burry is sounding the alarm on the artificial intelligence financing boom, warning that at current high-yield debt levels dangerously mirror the 1999 tech bubble or the dot-com era, and explicitly rejecting the notion of a cleaner AI investment cycle. Responding to recent macroeconomic data on X, Burry challenged the prevailing narrative surrounding the quality of AI-related debt. Referencing data compiled by Apollo Global's management chief economist Torsten Slok, Burry pointed out that a staggering 38% of current high-yield bond issuance is now linked to AI. A high-yield bond, also known as a junk bond, is a corporate bond issued by companies with lower credit ratings. He drew a direct, sobering comparison to the tech media telecom or TMT bubble, noting that TMT bonds constituted 40 to 50% of high-yield issuance in the year 2000. Quote, high-yield debt at 38% today versus 40 to 50% back then belies the idea that today's AI debt issuance is cleaner, backed more by profitable companies today. And that was a direct quote from Michael Burry. Burry further emphasized that the severe historical risks by pointing to the devastating aftermath of the early 2000s market crash. He warned investors that over $100 billion of investment-grade debt issued during the 1999-2000 frenzy eventually became junk by 2002. The frightening parallels extend deeply into the venture capital sector as well. While broader TMT funding hit 80% of all venture capital funding in 1999, an even higher 87% of VC funding today is directed strictly at AI. Burry's stark commentary was originally sparked at a May 18th, 2026 macroeconomic report authored by Torsten Slok. Slok's analysis emphasized that the AI boom is rapidly penetrating every corner of the financial markets. Slok noted that what initially began as an equity market phenomenon has become a capital markets-wide transformation. Beyond venture capital and high-yield bonds, year-to-date issuance data shows AI is now also accounting for a massive 49% of investment-grade bond issuance, increasingly pushing out non-AI investments across multiple channels. So where do we go from here? You'll have to let me know. You'll have to let me know if this spreads at all. Cam here says, Burry is relentless. You got to love the persistence. Frozen King, back to our initial story here. Home Depot is a horrible store. It's gone downhill and it's not improving. Home Depot has relied on supplying crappy contractors and not servicing home gamers. That's interesting. I will say the warehouses by me feel the same. I do think the help in them is not as good anymore, though, Frozen King. That is my read through on that. Okay. More news here on the smartphone market. Smartphone prices kill the upgrade demand in China. So we've actually wondered about the increased memory prices and how that would fit into the phone cycle and what that would do for some of them. We're starting to get some early indications of that. China's smartphone market weakened during the 2026 May Day holiday as rising memory costs pushed up handset prices, while Huawei strengthened its lead and Apple navigated a more competitive upgrade cycle. That was all according to Counterpoint Research. Counterpoint Research noted on Tuesday that China's smartphone sales dropped 16% year over year during the 2 weeks surrounding the May Day holiday, largely because higher memory prices increased smartphone costs and reduced consumer upgrade demand. The research firm also noted that smartphone makers pulled back on aggressive promotions compared with previous years, prioritizing profitability over sales volume. I wondered that too. Are we going to get sales on any of these handsets with the way memory prices are? Early indications of that, those are going to be curtailed a little bit. Counterpoint added that Chinese Android brands raised prices on legacy models by an average of 13% due to mounting component costs, which could continue weighing on demand in the near term. However, the firm expects a modest recovery in early June, driven by 618 shopping promotions. Counterpoint Research said Huawei maintained its leadership position in China's smartphone market, supported by strong demand for the Enjoy 90 Pro Max, which gained traction because of its battery life and value-focused positioning. Also, maybe its Apple-like name. Who knows? The research firm added that Huawei sustained weekly market share above 25% since April through stable pricing and solid sales of the Pura 90 Pro lineup and foldable Pura X Max. Counterpoint also said that Huawei continued to offer promotions on older Nova 15 and Mate 80 models. At the same time, competitors raised prices, highlighting the company's domestic supply chain advantage and helping it capture additional market share. Counterpoint Research said Apple posted 3% year-over-year growth during the holiday period, despite facing stronger competition from the Chinese smartphone launches in April. The firm said the iPhone 17 lineup entered a more normalized demand phase after a strong 6-month run. However, Apple still benefited from domestic brands raising prices because of memory cost inflation. Counterpoint added that entry-level subsidies also helped Apple remain competitive in China during the quarter. So we've talked often about China being a pretty big boon for Apple, and if they can really get things firing over there, that might already make a very well-performing stock perform even better. And it looks like that despite some of the lengths that China is going to promote domestic brands, Apple is not really losing market share, although maybe they're not gaining it at the same rate as well. All right. What time is it? We got a couple of minutes here before our guest. Let me go through one more story here. This one on Taiwan Semiconductor. Taiwan Semiconductor plans another ultra advanced AI chip. I feel like we were just talking about the 2 nanometer chips and all of that. And man, we got another one here. Taiwan Semiconductor, or ticker TSM, is reportedly planning the development of 1 nanometer chips, even as its first 2 nanometer chips are expected to enter production later this year. Already planning the next one. TechNode reported Tuesday that the company is also building up to 12 new wafer fabs to support advanced process nodes, which range from 2 nanometers to 1.4 nanometers. However, delays tied to the Longtan Phase 3 expansion project could push mass production of 1 nanometer chips to 2030 or 2031. Separately, Bank of America raised its 2027 capital expenditure forecast for Taiwan Semiconductor to $75 billion. That came from $63 billion. They cited strong demand for artificial intelligence and high-performance computing chips, which include GPUs, ASICs, and server CPUs. The bank said Taiwan Semiconductor is shifting more spending towards advanced chip production capacity, signaling preparations for next-generation manufacturing expansion. It expects the company to meet its 2026 capital expenditure guidance of $56 billion. Bank of America also highlighted improving profitability at Taiwan Semiconductor's Arizona fabs, which generated 19 billion new Taiwan dollars in net profit during the first quarter of 2026 after posting losses in 23 and 24. The firm also maintained a buy rating on the stock. The next major catalyst for the stock is expected to be Taiwan Semiconductor's earnings report, which is scheduled for July 16th. Analysts expect earnings per share of $3.66, up from $2.47 a year earlier on revenue of $39.76 billion, compared with the $30.07 billion in the prior year period. Taiwan Semiconductor shares traded a price-to-earnings ratio of 34, which indicates a premium valuation to its peers. So let me know if you think Taiwan Semiconductor is going to beat next time. Are you still bullish on this? Does this kind of go with the rest of the AI phase? Let me know what you think here. Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, and then one more thing that I just wanted to mention here real quick. I see our guest is here, but I'm not sure if they're ready, so I'm just going to run with this real quick before we get over to that. This one is, we talk about this all the time, so I just wanted to follow up here again. This is going to be on credit card payments. And I know we've looked at a lot of other possible stocks with respect to this, whether it be Visa or MasterCard or American Express, or even some of the other buy now, pay later stocks like Affirm and Sezzle. U.S. consumers are struggling to make credit card payments, with delinquencies surging to levels not seen in 15 years, according to a report. According to an X post by the Kobisi letter on Monday, quote, U.S. consumers are falling behind debt at a crisis pace, end quote. Serious credit card delinquencies rose 0.4 percentage points to 13.1% in the first quarter. That's the highest level since the fourth quarter of 2010, and just below the 2010 peak of 13.7% in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Since the third quarter of 2022, credit card delinquencies have surged 5.5 percentage points, quote, larger than the 3.9 point increase in 2007 to 2010, end quote. That came directly from the letter. Student loan delinquencies of 90 plus days jumped 0.7 or 0.7 percentage points to 10.3% in the first quarter. That's the highest since the first quarter of 2020. Quote, auto loans serious delinquencies increased 0.4 percentage points to 5.6%. And that 5.6% is the highest on record. The recent data shows that federal student debt in delinquency jumped by $12.2 billion to an all-time high of $171.4 billion in the first quarter of 2026. Around 2.6 million borrowers entered default during the first quarter, following roughly 1 million defaults in the fourth quarter of 2025. Serious delinquency rates reached 10.3%, and that's the highest level since the early 2020s or early 2020. This trend underscores the increasing repayment stress across American households, particularly as average borrowing entered default has aged to nearly 40 years old, and that's up from 36.4 years old in 2020. So credit card debt is mounting here. What will that mean for some of the stocks? And of course, what will that mean for the consumer as well? All right, folks, it is Tuesday, which means it is a T3 Tuesday. And I always like talking to our Chicago guys. So you know what? I'm just going to bring on another one. Let's go ahead and welcome on our guest, Scott Bauer. Hey, good morning, Scott. How you doing?
What's going on, Ryan? How are you?
I'm doing all right. Although, I wish that the Cubs.
Don't.
No. Look, we have to face the bad days too. I really wish the Cubs didn't give 2 away to the Sox. I've got a couple of Sox fans that are not letting me hear the end of it, but it is what it is. We're doing good. We're up. We're alive. We're breathing.
Yeah, probably, overall better than where we had expected. A couple 10-game winning streaks there, but gotta turn it around. Can't let this little streak that they're on now continue any longer.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens next here. But Scott, how you doing?
I'm good.
How's everything else going?
Everything is great. It's almost summertime here. We get 7 changes of weather in Chicago, and It's awesome.
Yeah, we just got our first taste over the weekend. I'll be honest, I spent so much time outside. It was phenomenal. I'm ready for it. Looks like we're going to get some rain today, so we'll focus here on markets. First of all, let me get the bills paid here, Scott. See how Scott Bauer turns market volatility into high probability setups live. You can join him this Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, for a step-by-step walkthrough of advanced option systems he's used for over 3 decades. That's awesome. Can you give us any preview or insight into that?
Sure. We're going to dive right into how I decipher not just direction, but the type of strategy also based on obviously looking at technicals and where volatility is. And even though we're seeing the VIX overall remain, I would say, pretty quiet for this environment, right around that 18 handle, though, when you look at individual stocks or sectors, there's still a lot of premium to be had there. A lot of these stocks are not reflective of necessarily a VIX being at 18. So we'll break down exactly direction and then strategy based on where premium levels are at.
Okay, that's awesome. We often get asked, what option would you use for this? How do you select the strike? How do you select the direction? All that sounds like you're going to cover all of that. Folks, hit that QR code in the upper right corner there, or right there in the center of the screen. Thank you very much, producer. We'll also drop the link live here in the chat for you. So, all right, Scott, can we talk about some individual stocks that you might be looking at?
Absolutely.
I don't know what's on your radar. I was just looking at Home Depot as they reported today, and we're, of course, going to have Lowe's tomorrow. Obviously, the big thing is the NVIDIA report that comes tomorrow afternoon. So what do you have on your radar? What are you looking at here?
So a couple positions that we have on right now. I really like Circle. And in the last couple of days, Circle has actually taken it on the chin a little bit because we've seen Bitcoin and in the whole crypto market getting hit. But if you look technically here, this thing formed a golden cross just recently. The 50 popping above the 200, and that was on some consolidation. And it's hard to say consolidation in a stock like Circle, but I think it actually has recently. So this is one that, if crypto recovers at all from here, I think Circle really has a tremendous amount of upside because of that technical golden cross that we just had. Switching over to NVIDIA, it seems like every single report, the word on the street is, well, they've got to hit the number. Their guidance has to be exactly right for this thing to go higher. And I think what we should expect, just based on past performance, they say, is not necessarily indicative of future performance, but we typically see great numbers, great guidance. I mean, that I don't even know the last time that hasn't happened. And we'll see the stock pop right when the numbers come out, and then there's typically a little bit of a sell-off here. I think it would be great for NVIDIA if we saw a little bit of a mild sell-off, down to, I don't know, the 210 area or so. I think that would be a real significant buy area, because that had been, back in, what is this, end of April there, that was kind of a peak that we just got through there. So, the market's pricing in about a $15, $16 move. So, 6.5%, 7%.
Yep.
If we get that move to the downside, and it's, that's a little further than I was looking at, I think it would be time to load up. So I would probably, and I'm going to look at this further today, I would probably play NVIDIA with a slightly bearish iron condor for this week. Just taking into consideration that, we typically see the stock sell off a little bit. So, the strikes I'd be looking at, and this is obviously pre-market right now, strikes I'd be looking at are probably on the downside, like the 210, 205 put spread, and on the upside, maybe the 225, 230, or the 230, 235, and, just harness that premium. But everything we do, Ryan, as you know, everything we do, regardless of the strategy, is going to be 100% risk defined. So even if there is a blowout move against you, you know what you're on the hook for, and that's just the way we do it.
I think that's a smart way to do it. And also, it sounds like there are some viewers on the same page as you. NVIDIA has been selling off after earnings. It never seems to be enough for the street. And when you were first talking about, they have to put up a number here, they have to beat. The way I view this is they don't just have to meet that. They have to crush that. It feels to me like NVIDIA might be a little weak if they just kind of beat it. It's got to be a really good number.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what is a really good number? The all the estimates that are out there, they're estimates. So if they beat the bottom line growth by 25%, but their guidance is just in line, who knows what's going to happen, right? I mean, there's such a combination of things that have to happen. So I would approach this again, if I were going to put a position on going into the print, of NVIDIA being somewhat range bound afterwards, with a little bit biased to the downside. Okay.
Yeah, that tracks. I actually think that's a really good overlap here for a lot of folks in our group. They seem to feel the same way. I'm definitely interested on what's on your plate here, but since we just talked about NVIDIA, I kind of want to change gears a little bit to some of the memory names. These seem to move hand in hand. We've actually finally seen a pullback on some of these names. I know it's not big. I know it still looks a little extended. We're not even at the 20-day moving average yet, but we have pulled back from the highs. So do you have any thoughts on this? I ask almost every day about Micron or SanDisk. Hey, are you folks buying this dip? Is this something that you think that you can trade here? What say you? And you can pick any memory name you want. You don't have to stay on Micron if you don't want to.
I mean, Micron's a great one. SanDisk is obviously another one. You look at Western Digital; they're all the same. It's all rinse and repeat. And so far, I look at this trade similar to what the gold trade was for the longest time up till a few months ago, where on any pullback, regardless if it came down to some technical level or what it was, you had to buy it because it was just buy the dip. So far, these stocks are the same. Micron, SanDisk, Western Digital. That's going to break at some point here. Obviously, a lot bit more volatile with these. So whatever you do, you absolutely have to have a risk-defined situation. For the most part, and we've talked about this before, Ryan, on a buy the dip like this, I would be selling a bullish iron condor. The opposite of what I'm looking at in NVIDIA, because I still want to harness so much of this expensive premium. And you can have that with, a trading iron condor with a directional bias to it.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Really good stuff there on Micron and maybe some of the other memory names here as well. Anything else that you have on your radar that you really like?
Right now it's the same with the oil stocks. Last week we had the
Perfect.
opportunity at the beginning of the week. I think it was either the beginning of the week last week or end of the week, just prior, where we had oil really selling off because of news, and it took stocks with it. One that I've really been active in and out is VLO. It's a
Okay.
great trader. It has a lot of volume, a lot of liquidity. This has been kind of the epitome of a buy the dip. And it's also, if you look at the chart here, it's also really respected the 50-day moving average in VLO. So
Sure has.
I'm gonna look back on the chart here. Yeah, it was just on the 7th or 8th when oil really got hit. VLO tumbled actually just below the 50-day moving average. We actually took multiple positions. We did a bullish iron condor. We did a very bullish broken wing call butterfly to the upside here. And VLO now, we're out of both positions. Both were great. VLO might be getting a little top heavy right now. You never know because it's so tied to news minute by minute. But if this thing pulled back at all, that's another one I'd be looking to enter to just buy the dip.
Okay, I like this here. It is as clear as day on this daily chart what happens when the stock comes in, tests, or even peaks below that 50-day moving average.
Exactly.
And I'll be honest, today, this looks like it's trying to break out.
It does.
Yeah, so
It
this
absolutely
is
does.
another good one. I'll tell you what, I don't look at VLO very often. I think maybe I should. I think maybe I should incorporate this one a little bit more based on what you're saying.
It's been a great trader, Ryan. I think that we have conservatively been in and out of VLO 6 or 7 times this year so far on kind of momentum positions, and it has really been a very nice trader.
Okay. VLO. Anything else that you want to do?
I really like GE. I
All
really
right,
like
perfect.
GE on this pullback. It's so funny because as a professional trader on the floor, and then even for about the first, 5-7 years after leaving the floor and just trading on the screens, I never ever traded a GE contract. GE was just one of those kind of old stodgy looking.
Yep.
I never traded a GE contract, and then just fairly recently here, this thing is printing volume. So the opportunity to trade it is huge. And to me, it's getting down to a massive support and congestion area, 280, 285 area. Pick your poison somewhere right in there where I believe this thing really has the opportunity. Implied vol, it's kind of in the middle here. So this is not necessarily a case where I would sell an iron condor just because I don't think there's enough premium. So I think, playing this with some upside call spreads, upside broken wing, call butterflies, giving yourself some time here is really appropriate. And they just recently had earnings. So you can take a position out, go in a couple months or so, and not have to worry about an earnings report.
I want to ask you two things really quick here on GE. You just talked about the gold.
All right, everybody. So it looks like Ryan's internet may have gone out here, but I am still here. So this is a GE chart here. This is a 1-year chart. And you can see the blue line here, the 200-day moving average. GE did just drop below, but you can also see this consolidation area that I was talking about. So I think this is really important right in here. And before Ryan's internet cut out, I think what he was going to ask was, I was talking about that in circle, the golden cross with the 50 going up over the 200, where in GE, it's actually the opposite. You can see right here, the 50 moving down lower than the 200. So that's what's known as the death cross. That being aside, I love this right here, this consolidation we were talking about. Volatility, not that expensive, kind of right in the middle of the channel. So that's why I was talking about, rather than selling a bullish iron condor, let's say, where maybe the premium levels don't really bear that out, just buying some call spreads or broken wing call butterflies to the upside here.
Scott, I tell you what, you're a true pro there, being able to handle it with an internet drop. I don't know what your thoughts are on Comcast, but I have a very negative.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
No, thank you is right. Okay, so at least I'm not crazy. One more thing about GE. They obviously just recently had some news here about getting a new contract with Japan Airlines to service their 787 fleet. So that seems like perhaps a positive catalyst as well. All right, folks, see how Scott Bauer turns market volatility into high probability setups live. Also, watch how he takes over a show live when the host drops. That's pretty cool, too. Join him this Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern for a step-by-step walkthrough of the advanced options system he's used for over 3 decades. Scott, I can't thank you enough sharing your expertise. Go Cubs, and thanks for covering here. You're the best.
Hopefully you'll be out there this weekend. I'll be out there against the Astros, so let's go get them.
Okay. I will actually be in Arkansas this week, but I will catch you at one of these games, I'm sure. Scott, we appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself.
Right. Bye-bye.
All right, Scott Bauer. So the T3 guys continue to add tools to their toolboxes. In addition to being able to trade all of the different markup setups, they're also able to handle an internet outage just like that. How about that? Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome stuff. Thank you, producer, and thank you, chat, for helping out with all of that. Cam here says Comcast has got it in for Ryan. Yeah, they do. They promised that they were going to work 1 day. That turned into 3 days, and we'll see if it turns into 4 days. That's just how it goes, it seems. But we're good. We're rolling here. I don't have Starlink, but I have Verizon. So the show must go on. All right. One thing I do want to do here, I want to do street tweets. We are expecting 13 here pretty soon. So we'll bring him on pretty soon. We also have an all access to play for you here today. So we'll be sure to get that done. But this street tweet here, let's go ahead and run that. I'm going to give you the actual tweet. I'm also going to give you my breakdown of the tweet just in case you don't have time to watch it. So let's go ahead and take care of that right now. All right, street tweets here. First one here, it comes from Ross Gerber, and it's kind of ominous on the surface. He says, pay attention to Micron and NVIDIA. And I do like this new little X feature, by the way, of the stock price graph. I do find that quite helpful. Now, for those of you, here's the tweet itself. For those of you that actually want to watch the video, I would encourage you to do this, but I've actually watched it for you, and I'll go ahead and give you a quick breakdown on that just in case you want to save some time. Basically, 3 years ago, Jensen was explaining how the future was going to go to some of these suppliers. He was telling them that there's going to be increased demand for all of these different chips and products and all of this. And he conveys that the company, in this tweet, he conveys that the company goes upstream and downstream to the suppliers just to make sure that they can plan for it. Now, obviously, they couldn't plan for the massive demand, but it could have been worse if Jensen didn't have this kind of forward vision to plan for this as it was. AI agents are, and he goes on to describe AI agents basically as digital workers. So it's almost as if every human is going to turn into a manager of these digital workers, which I thought was a really interesting way to look at it. He's on this conversation with Michael Dell. And Michael Dell says anyone will have, or anyone and everyone will have digital agents working for them, and they'll become supervisors. He also addressed the memory issue, and he said it takes time to build the factories for memory, but he was specific that the companies are actually listening to this. Whereas you might have said, hey, you're going to have to build faster, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that. In the past, companies wouldn't listen, but they are actually listening to this. So there's optimism here that they're going to be able to spin some of these factories up. That, dare I say it, makes maybe the memory price issue transitory. That was probably too soon, but you know where I'm going with that. Jensen also talked about, he said, quote, "This is literally the very beginning. We will be doing this for a decade or more," end quote. That's a direct quote from this. So my takeaway on that is that I had asked earlier, and I asked Scott as well, about buying some of these memory chips that look really, really extended. Do we buy any of these on a pullback? Well, based on two of the big players, in fact, one of them is called the godfather of AI, they're telling you that, hey, first of all, not only are we absolutely in the very, very early innings of this, 100% we're in the early innings of this. It's going to be going on for a long time. Oh, by the way, we actually talked to our supply chain upstream and downstream where we're at just to make sure that we can get all this stuff done. So I have my differences with Ross Gerber. Sometimes I agree with some of the funny things that he says, and a lot of the times that I disagree here. I think what he's saying here is that, hey, NVIDIA, Micron, some of the stuff in this kind of theme, it might fall out of favor temporarily, but it's not going anywhere. And it just seems like the buy the dip is being conveyed with this tweet. If you guys go through this, or if you've thought about, guys and gals, excuse me, if you've gone through this, if you're thinking about this, if you watch this, I'd be very, very curious to see what your opinion is on this. And the call stays. What are your trading ideas for Micron, Dell, NVIDIA, or anything in between, anything on the AI front there? So good stuff from Ross here today. All right, let's go back to pro. Let's go back to live trading. And you know what? Bigabees is absolutely right. Bigabees says you better bring on 13 quickly to rescue you in case there's another outage. So you know what? Let's listen to Bigabees, who I believe also worked in IT at some point. And let's bring on 13, see how he's doing. Good morning, my man.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Sorry it's a little dark here. It's pretty overcast. You're getting rain, thunder, lightning, all that good stuff. Got my window wide open, so got some light coming in. Should improve as the show goes
on. You bring the light to the show, 13. So
I'm a beacon of joy.
And I will say, hey, at least your internet is reliable. It is what it is. You know what's funny about that is actually it looks like my internet is back. Should I roll the dice? Because I'm still on hotspot. It looks like it's okay. Producer, how's the connection seem since I've moved to the hotspot? Maybe I'll try and go back since I've got them both here. But nonetheless, 13, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much. And thank you for all of your help this week covering for my lackluster internet. It means a lot. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with any individual name, or should we just pound the movers out?
Let's get these movers out of the way. It's a bunch of junk.
Love it. Love it.
Of junk.
Okay.
Bunch of 100% runners. We just had a conversation last night about
yes, we did.
When we start seeing these multiple 100% runners, it's usually indicative of a market top.
And we've let me just spend a second on that, because we've talked about this before. And 13, I think that you're right. I think we should maybe kind of keep calling this out as we see it here. A lot of the times, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I've developed this opinion from talking to those that have a lot more experience than me in both funds traded, background, how many years of experience they have doing all of this stuff. I've compiled this opinion from speaking to all of those people. And it sure seems that when you start having junk, effectively, make big outsized triple-digit moves, and it happens all of the time, it's generally the precursor to a potential shift in the market, maybe a downturn. And we did have that discussion last night. Did I miss anything there, do you think?
No,
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
But with Amosite here, this looks like it's trying to get ready to break out. If you want to draw the trend line that I'm sure you see there.
I see it right now.
So that's trying to get over that. That's also trying to get over VWAP, which is a resistance area. Do you want to just cover what's causing this to move?
Yeah, so Amosite shares are trading higher. For the company reported a year-over-year increase in the Q3 financial result. This was a 15-cent loss that was up from the 16-cent loss anticipated. Year-over-year sales of 83,000, up from 30,000. So this looks like a company that doesn't really have a lot of revenue that's trying to ramp it here. And it looks like we're getting our first real big jump there, and the market is rewarding it, at least so far. Is it rewarding it too much? Well, that's yet to be seen. Short interest on this name, 6.49%. 1 day to cover. On average, trades just over 500,000 shares. Today it's traded 68 million shares, which is what? Its float is 4.1 million. So that's what? 150 times its float. So just a massive move here. 13, what do you got here? Ticker AMST.
So this one reported their earnings. They also had a couple of other pieces of news to go along with earnings just before they dropped the actual print itself. We have a couple of insiders buying large amounts of this. Now, realize that it was around 48 cents when they picked it up. So very, very cheap. But I think it's notable that you had two different people buying hundreds of thousands of shares. In addition to that, you also had a headline where this company won a 2,700 consensus home care enterprise customer. So that bodes well for future revenue. The revenue, by the way, which was not impressive at all, less than $100,000 in sales. It's moving pretty well off of that, and we're getting this move through the view up right now. Hopefully, we'll have some legs on that. But I think it's more of the winning the customer and those insider buys that are helping it drive this up further. We're now getting past the VWAP. That's great. To the upside, the next resistance area I have is 290.
Okay. 290. I agree with your spot there at 290. Yeah, that's right off the chart here. That round number might give us some resistance. And then the morning high there, I've got at 340.
Mm-hmm. Company has very little cash, very little revenue. It actually probably could use a cash infusion. It's got about a quarter or a little more than a quarter left based on their burn rate. So there could be some share dilution coming, some capital raising coming with this company.
Yeah. And you know what? So this is high performance and scalable online products for schools and businesses. So you know what that tells me, 13, is that once they're able to actually ink some contracts, that should be really good recurring revenue. But to scale the platform up, that they might need to raise. Yeah. Especially if they don't have a whole lot of money to begin with.
Yeah. And we have the school year kind of coming to a close, so I don't know how it all works with the with school systems, but maybe that's over the summer is when these deals start getting made. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff there. AMST. Now the next one here, let me go to that. That's INM, InMed Pharmaceuticals.
Merger.
I feel like what's that?
It's a merger.
This is a merger. I feel like we've traded this one before.
We have.
Okay. So real quick here, InMed Pharmaceuticals to merge with Mentari Therapeutics in an all-stock deal, backed $290 million private placement, combined to at $421 million. InMed shareholders to own a 1.51% stake. Okay, so that's the news here. Floats 3.3 million. This thing's a ghost town. Today it's traded 30 million. What else you got?
I was just going to say it's the mergers to advance migraine prevention therapies. Hopefully that works out. I have a couple of friends that have real migraine issues. So.
Yeah, me too. And it's debilitating for them.
Yep. So would love to see that work out. But unfortunately for us, I don't think there's much of a trade here.
Yeah. Doesn't look like it. We'll see if this gives us some action when the market opens. But with this being a merger, I think we could probably just move on pretty safely, 13.
Yeah.
Okay, next year is what? Sorry?
I said, yeah.
Okay. Next year is going to be Rubico. The ticker is RUBI. This spiked as high as 6 before coming back. Final 100% runner that we talked about. I don't see any fresh news on here. Last piece of news was an SEC form that was tagged on Saturday. So I don't see anything fresh on this. Maybe 13 has something there. I also don't see a lot of short interest. In fact, I only see 60,000 shares held short. 1 day to cover. I don't have a float reading. 13, maybe you do on that, but negligible short interest on this. It is in oil and gas. 13 on this.
The what you just pointed out, the fact that it's in oil and gas, I think, is why you're seeing the move up here today. There was fears that we're going to get back into it with Iran again. Of course, we did have the hold off on the strikes that were supposed to happen today. Whether or not you want to lean on that is up to you, but that's what the news was, and that's one of the reasons why I think Ruby is trading higher here today. The float on this is also probably why it's trading higher here today. It's 767,000 shares. So very small, sub 1 million share float. Company does have some cash, some revenue, and it is profitable. So I don't think there's any real need for them to raise capital at this stage. If there's another piece of news that I just haven't, didn't look at that may indicate they would need to do that, then I haven't seen it. But based on their financials, it doesn't look like they have a real need to do that right now. Support I have at 355. Resistance, we fell through resistance when I was looking at this and back tested it. That was, support was going to be VWAP. We fell through that. Now it's resistance. So VWAP is resistance. If we manage to recapture that, I have 540 as resistance higher.
And you know what is that by the time we actually have an opportunity to recapture that VWAP, it might also coincide with a possible trend line break. So we'll see if those two things line up. Yeah.
If it can hold up here, because I think don't you have a fair value gap that we're kind of trying to prevent from entering?
You know what? I apologize. I didn't even pull this up. We do 13. It's good.
Should be about like 355, 356, somewhere in there.
It looks like it's going to be right up to here. 360 is the top end of that fair value gap.
Okay, thank you. So if we do get that weakness, that takes us down towards 355 is where I had the support. So that enters the fair value. That might be, we could see a rebound there. If not there, maybe the 65 EMA, but entering that fair value gap, we should see some support kick in around the levels we just mentioned.
Yeah. And I would just be careful. This is a fairly wide fair value gap, so I would definitely not put a stop at the bottom end of it. I would use your own risk parameters to determine where that stop should be, but I would definitely top third of that box. Okay. What else did you have on your list from this list?
The only other one I looked at, and it's probably not even worth even discussing, but WNW. It had no news. The only thing that I saw that could possibly cause us to go were these Form 3 and Form 4s that popped up over the evening. The company has 1.19 million shares in the float. It has some revenue, has some cash, and it tutors on profitability. Don't know how great this one's going to be. Maybe just keep it on your radar. If it looks like it's starting to perk up, maybe we get a recapture of the VWAP and it goes on a wild run, and you can try to capture some of that. Be careful with this one if you try to trade it. It is a China name. It could be very volatile, and I don't want anybody losing their capital over trying to trade something that may or may not work out.
And WNW has actually been one that we've traded before, or maybe not actually executed trades, but we've looked at this before off of the mover scanner. So it's no stranger to what's going on right now. Okay, let's see. We have 22 minutes, so I do want to take a look at a couple more of these, even though we haven't necessarily prepared for them, just to kind of see what's going on. Oh, look at this, CODX. Wow. Looks like we kind of came at the right time here. CODX popping on volume right here. This thing has moved 60% in just the last 5 minutes. Let's see what's going on with this. Co-Diagnostics announces assay development strategy for Bundibugyo, Ebola strain. So I actually did see recently that there were some posts about Ebola kind of maybe mutating or increasing in frequency there. Looks like this is an assay strategy following the recent global outbreak. So this is thematic, I would say. I don't know how good the actual strategy itself is, but this is thematic, and the market is rewarding it plus 77%. Quick peek at the short interest on this name, 4.76% of the float traded with 1 day to cover. I think that's fairly negligible. I think the catalyst is going to outweigh that. Float of about 3.5 million. On average, trades 1.4 million shares, done 6.5 already on this pop. I think this could be around all day here today. What do you think?
It might be. This is testing for diseases, and apparently this company's system is relatively low cost. So that makes it a high likely candidate for companies and governments picking up their testing. Now, I don't know how their availability for their products are. So if they have enough, great. But if there's going to be constraints, then it could be short-lived. Let's see here. Where are we at with this? 230s right now. So that actually takes us right up to the 65 EMA on the daily chart, where the price has been rejected numerous times there. But we are still trying to push through it. We'll see what happens. But that's going to be the big resistance right now, is on that daily chart. Do you see it there?
Yeah, I do. I'm trend line here. Here's the resistance. It's the 237 spot, just as you outlined here, 13. Check this out. You tell me if you like this. In fact, I wonder. Oh, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. Okay, I have a trend line originating at the low of the candle from Tuesday, December 16th, going through the high of this year on January 9th. It just barely misses the high on March 10th, but it taps the high on May 8th, and that puts that trend line basically right where we're at here today.
All right. Well, there's a couple of levels to watch for here. If we get this move over the 65 EMA, let's get a break through that trend line, and it's probably going to take numerous days for this to all take place here. But a breakout to the trend line, a back test would be great, and then a launch higher. But that's going to take multiple days in order to do that. So I think what we want to see here today is what? Just a break over the trend line on a daily chart.
Absolutely. You're right. A couple of good additions here from the chat. First of all, Bob mentioning that this thing did a 30-for-1 reverse split. Bob is absolutely right. That came January 2nd of this year. So very early this year, this thing did a 1-for-30 reverse. Also, Jay mentioning here, wasn't this a COVID name? Yes. I don't want to necessarily hold that against it. There were a lot of names that ran in COVID on a lot of stupid stuff. But yes, this one did move during COVID. Yes, you're absolutely right about that. And Replay Game Lab blessing us with some poetry this morning. Some say that the world will end in fire. Some say will end in ice. I'm okay with either. Just don't end in panic. Okay, that's a choice that you can make, Replay Game Lab. I'm going to finish my coffee. I'm going to be like Walter Sobchak and finish my coffee. No panicking. No panicking, especially with a 45 on the hip. What do you got?
So that for CODX, we are getting that resistance at the 65 EMA on the daily. On the 5-minute chart, we're getting support from the VWAP. We'll see if that holds up. It looks like it wants to try and hold 2 in order to break through. We'll see. Maybe there is some prints beneath 2, but it looks like it's trying to gear up to get through that trend line we just drew. So maybe that happens at the open.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Pretty awesome. It goes right to the trend line and backs off that. I love when a plan comes together like okay. Let me roll through a couple of more. I guess I'll just go through the next couple here. Yeah, the next 2, and then we'll take ticker time. We should have plenty of time for it. We got 17 minutes. Folks, get your tickers ready. 13, I hope you're ready to do some charting.
Let's do it.
Because it sounds like that's what we're going to do here. Okay, next of these 2 junky movers here. This one's going to be MetaVia. Ticker is MTVA. The stock closed at $1.10 yesterday, traded up to $2.51 here in the pre-market, but has spent the rest of the pre-market bleeding some of those gains back. MetaVia to present obesity data at the American Diabetes Association, or the ADA, 2026 scientific sessions. It also got a buy rating and a $20 target from H.C. Wainwright. Now take that with a grain of salt there. The presentation is going to be on June 7th. That's a Sunday, and it's going to be in the afternoon. So I think what's interesting about this is that whatever they're going to present, it's going to happen on the weekend. And you might want to mark off June 8th Monday, June 8th on your calendar. That would be the market day that this stock would be able to respond to whatever obesity data is going to be presented at that conference. That's what the news is. It's up 47% on that news. 2.9% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. On average, this thing's a ghost town. It's done over 50 million shares here today, and it's 3.4 million shares, just about in the float. What do you think, 13?
They did a 1-for-11 reverse split at the beginning of December, and then the very next month they raised capital.
Yikes!
Yeah. So, but the thing is that I don't know if they're done with that or not. I don't think that it doesn't look like they have any need to do that right now. Their financials look okay. Now it's a biotech, so certainly it's not going to have revenue. Most of them usually don't. So there's no revenue. It's losing money. They're going to have to raise at some point. But right now it looks like they're okay. They've got nearly 14 million in the bank based off their last report, and they were burning through almost 4 million. So there's like a couple of quarters that they could manage with this right now. Currently looks like the chart's trying to is breaking over the 65 EMA, trying to get through some resistance that was established by the earlier price action here, where it was testing this very same area we're breaking over as support. So if we manage to recapture that, the next resistance is going to be VWAP.
Okay. All right. There's some targets there for you. MTVA. Okay. The last one I wanted to mention here, 13, is Easy Go. And this looks like this just reverse split. Did it not?
Well, let's see.
It did.
Yep.
May 19th, today. 1 for 150 reverse.
Gotta think that a capital raise is coming.
I gotta think that a capital raise is coming.
Unless they did it backwards.
So is the new float 20 million? Yeah, it's gotta be, right? Because it was a 5-cent stock. Yeah, has to be.
E-bikes, e-rentals.
They make golf carts, eh? I could have sworn I just used an Easy Go golf cart. No,
don't know.
Guess not. I could have sworn it said Easy Go at the golf course right on the front. I even thought to myself, "Oh, that stock just moved."
I'm sure that's I'm sure that's not a uniquely used name for things that are simple.
Yeah, and this is a Chinese stock. I don't think those golf carts are Chinese. Nonetheless, here 1 for 50 reverse. This thing popped. It's already bleeding back here today. I'm totally going to stay away from this. But what do you think?
I don't. This doesn't have any cash. I'd be careful with this one. They could raise as early as today. They need money. They have revenue, which is fine, but they don't have any cash left, and they're not profitable.
Okay. I'll mention this here real quick. Forsman saying 11 trading days left until the end of PDT. Now,
but who's counting?
But Forsman, it appears that different brokers are doing it at different days. So, for example, I believe Robinhood throws this regulation away on June 4th, and I believe Charles Schwab or Thinkorswim throws it away on June 8th.
That's fantastic.
It might be 11. What?
That's fantastic. It's just in time for the SpaceX IPO. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Actually, that is a good.
It's almost like it was planned, huh?
So all I'm gonna say here is check with your broker. They all know about this. So if you can't find it on their website, reach out to them and ask them to give you a date. I know that there are a lot of folks that are under that stupid threshold that really can't wait for this to be gone. So,
Joe, if you do that, you have to call it KIT.
AI golf cart taking over for Knight Rider. Okay. 13. I'm going to go to my big chart here. Are there any regular stocks that you want to look at? We can always lean on the chat as well to give us some ideas. But is there anything that you want to start here, or that? Let me rephrase. Is there anything that you can start with here to give me about a 1-minute break?
I could talk briefly about NDAC.
Yeah, let's do that because I actually really like this thesis. This is something. Didn't we touch on this yesterday morning a little bit, and then we talked about it more in happy hour?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do that. And then, Kathy, we will take a look at your VPG as well. So sit tight on that. 13, here's your NDAC chart, which actually looks like it's facing a breakout.
Let's take a look here. So this is the NASDAQ. And this is one that I think that it's not so much a trade. You can trade it if you want. But I think with this one, this is one that you just buy on weakness and then you just hold it. Because this is only going to continue to grow, and you have a lot of really helpful to their bank account events coming up. They make a lot of money from IPOs, but their crypto products are where I think they're going to really begin to rake it in. This is going to be a big beneficiary of the Clarity Act passing. Once we get through that, some of the products they are planning to put out in the market are going to be crypto assets, crypto indices, tokenized assets. So they're going to rake in fees from all that. So and they just opened a Texas exchange. So I think there's a lot of great things going for this. This is just one that, in my opinion, you just buy on weakness and hold it as it continues to grow. Until the stock market actually ends, I think this one just continues to rise. So until he gets back, RKTA below 13, any buy opportunities coming? So, I'm sorry, Rocket. Okay, so we'll have him pull that chart up as soon as he gets back. But Rocket companies. So I'm a little less enthusiastic about mortgages right now with rising mortgage rates. You got to just watch that 10-year. 10 years been on a rise. I'm not too enthusiastic about mortgages right now. That's going to probably create some great opportunities for entry here in companies like Rocket. But to me, this looks like we're testing a really critical support level, where if we lose it, we're going to head lower. I would think $10.
Yep, totally agree with you on Rocket there. One more thing, I covered this in the A block of the show here today. This is from Ed Yardeni. Inflation fears gripped Wall Street, and Ed Yardeni anticipates an imminent policy shift, noting the recent CPI and PPI data suggesting the Fed is behind the curve on inflation. So as a result, he expects the central bank to completely drop its easing stance and adopt a tightening bias. That no good for Rocket companies and the lower interest rates. So I think that's being reflected here in the chart. You're absolutely right about the huge 13 support there. 13 is right about 13 support. How about that? Yeah. The universe is in order, and we're at the nexus of, and this is where we're at here on Rocket. Okay, we want to take a look at VPG. Let's do that. And 13, I'm going to utilize this time here to try and switch my connection over to my broadband from my hotspot. So I might drop, the chart might drop, keep rolling. I'll be right back no matter what happens.
Okay, VPG, Vishay Precision Group. You probably traded this or looked at this one before. Looking like there's a little indecisiveness up here over the past several days. And I say that because this looks very similar to how Micron was looking before it finally turned around. We just had these dojis start appearing up at the highs. And just, what's up?
We're good.
Okay.
Looks like that switch went okay and everything's good.
That was pretty fast.
Yeah, I'll keep this ready just in case something happens again. But looking all right. All right. Sorry, 13. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing I was really saying about this is that it just looks like there's a bunch of indecisiveness up here at the price, this price range of about like 92 to 108. And I was just pointing out how it looks very similar to how Micron was looking before it rolled over. Just had a bunch of these dojis that and it started appearing and going sideways. So maybe there is some weakness coming. What have we even got here with this electronic? Okay, so. Measurements, sensor measurements, resistors. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it just looks like this is getting a little weak. Maybe it comes back in a bit. It's extended on the daily chart. I wouldn't be surprised if this came back in maybe to 80. I could see 70 as well, but it seems like that's a pretty large drop in a short period of time. To me, it just looks like this is a little bit extended, and it might come back in. It just looks very similar to how Micron was before it came back in.
And Kathy here was saying that this is used in automotive applications, semiconductors used in automotive applications. We've seen that actually drive a couple of stocks here. I also really quickly want to point out, now I didn't trade this, I wasn't on this or anything, but I just want to point out why I highlight this formation for you folks when I see it. We had another floating island here. We actually had a pop up to this, made a one-day island. The next day it popped again. But you see, if I zoom in here, we got the exact price action that I'm looking for. We carved out a range. We rolled back over to the low of the candle and held. And lo and behold, what happened next? Curled back up to the top and then through the resistance area high. So I wasn't on it. I didn't trade it. I made no money off of it. But this is the floating island setup that I keep trying to bring you folks. And it looks like that is materializing right here. Okay. A couple of things to clean up here from the chat. First of all, Jamrock says, Benzinga, they are not raising rates. So this is from our last conversation there. That will not be the Fed. That will not be what the new Fed chair does. I got to be honest with you. I understand what he said. I understand what his boss wants. I understand that he was hired to do something. He probably want to do that. I will say I do not envy the position that he's in. Market is telling you that it doesn't make sense for rates to come in right now. So even if that's what Trump wants, we'll see how this all shakes out here. I'm not ready to say definitively that that's not what he's going to do.
Well,
maybe he'll vote that way. I'm just saying. I think
if there's anything he probably should do, it should start talking about the spending. That's number one. I mean, he could also pull some other levers like reducing the balance sheet, but I think there needs to be some clear communication about getting spending under control.
And he's talked about wanting to do that. He's talked about wanting to change what the Fed looks at and stuff like that. So this market will challenge him. Dr. Manred, I think that you are correct.
It's well, I mean, you got Powell once again, saying that all these market pressures or he's not saying transitory, but he wants to really bad. Because he's saying that this whole thing will pass and things will return to normal once this war is over, and I don't think that's exactly everything that Powell should be focusing on, because they're not focusing on spending when they should be. So I think Powell is kind of leaving a bit of a mess here for Bush.
Yeah, Frozen King says you have to remove Congress to reduce spending. It's too full of pork. Can't say I disagree with that either. And that's not even picking a side. That's just in general, Congress in general. Okay. All right. What else do we want to do here? We did
want the market to open.
BP. Well, we definitely want that. We always want that.
Okay. I think keep an eye on Codex to see if we can get a recapture of that VWAP out of the gate. Ruby is continuing to leak down towards 65 EMA. AMST, I think we're getting a move back up through VWAP. This could take us up towards the higher resistance levels like the 290 area. There may be some resistance as we approach 265. I think that was about it. MTVA, this one is slowly climbing up to its VWAP as well.
Okay. Jamrock asking about Leopold Asherbrenner's 13F filing, where he's essentially purchasing $137 billion in AI hardware put options. I mean, that's a bearish bet, right? I don't necessarily, I'm not using that to guide any further trades. That's the way I would put it.
I mean, it seems like he's jumping on the idea that we're going to see a big rotation out of tech in order to make room for some of these IPOs. Some funds do really have to make room for this because they have to buy SpaceX, so they have to sell some of their holdings, and the ones that have been one of the ones that have been performing the best has been NVIDIA. So I would think that the tech sector is going to see some get hit a little hard here as there's some liquidation during NVIDIA's earnings in order to make room for those IPOs.
Okay, Webcoin putting FIG on watch right ahead of the open here. That's FIG Figma. This is higher from its earnings report. 25 looks to be the pre-market resistance area. And we have SPY at the pre-market lows. That actually broke the 734 or 734 and a half level. It's right back at that level, but it did break it to the downside here.
FIG on.
And we're open.
Here we go. Give us something good. All right, so out of the gate here, we had nothing happened just yet. CODX is trying to hold support here at this 190 area. AMST trying to push higher. Ruby almost at that 65 EMA. We'll see if we get
Big through 25. That was a great call there, Webcoin. Scalp one done. Thank you very much.
Nice work.
That was as soon as I looked at the chart after Webcoin's alert, I was like, yeah, I think this probably pops. We'll see if it goes crazy, but 1 for 1 here. And on the last 2 days where I've been on mobile hotspot, I haven't done anything. So I'm glad I've at least done something now. All right.
Codex going here.
Okay.
Exactly the way we wanted it to. Let's see if we can get through 250. Ruby went right through the 65 EMA, still trading beneath that. WNW, no surprise. This is leaking initially, coming down to the 200 EMA. We'll see if it can get some support there. Looks like MTBA is trying to get going here as well.
Codex time and sales, that's a lot of volume flowing through there too. It is right at that VWAP, and there's a battle going on.
There is a battle. It was a firefight.
I can't believe he died in a freak gasoline fight. Nikhil mentioning Microsoft here. I want to see it break 440. I actually just saw a whole bunch of Microsoft call sweeps. In fact, they're going so fast, I can't even read the damn strikes to you folks. 430, 432, 435, 440. Microsoft calls being bought all the way up that chain. Stock is currently 430 here. It looked like it tried to go higher.
Ruby heading lower. WNW is trying to rebound. It's working its way through a whole bunch of EMAs. It's pretty tough for it right now. If it does make its way through there, you have VWAP at 551 that it could jump up to. Still waiting for Codex to make that breakout. It's struggling to hold itself over the VWAP. There's a seller in the way at about 220 up.
NVIDIA is climbing here. That's true. Nikhil mentioning that FIG gave everything back. Whew.
Yeah.
Had to be quick on that one. Okay. Well, at least at this point, I'm glad I sold. We'll see if we get another entry there. A nice little scalp off the open. Codex holding above its VWAP here.
Yep. Trying to, let's see, we've got 2 minutes, 15 seconds left in this candle. Let's see if we can get past 225. That's currently the tough spot for it at the moment.
So really, sorry, go ahead. Finish
I was going to say AMST is getting a lift here as well. That's climbing up to one of the resistance areas we mentioned earlier. We want to see 290 in this one.
TE, this was a mover from yesterday, traded up in the after hours and was holding higher in the pre-market. Just traded back down to the consolidation area from yesterday. So I would say your support here is going to be 640 on TE. Probably would want that to recapture 7. I would think are your key levels there. That's ticker TE.
Brian mentioning that NQ is a rocket. Jay mentioning MU, and Kathy mentioning MU red to green.
Yeah, and that was Brian, right? Brian's exactly right. The Qs here, the NASDAQ, the NQ, that is straight up. The S&P is about at where it opened and the Dow pulled. So the rocket very clearly here in the tech names. TE, Fuzzy Panda short this morning. Thank you, Jay. Didn't see that. That's a good alert.
Nice. Okay, so there's probably going to be a bounce opportunity that we could take advantage of. AMST coming up to some resistance around 265. Ruby down to the 200 EMA. I'm glad we avoided that one. But WNW did get that rebound, and it is climbing towards the VWAP here. This is the junkie name, Mewu. Codex couldn't get past 225, lost VWAP. It is down at the 9 EMA now.
So WNW, sorry, 5 is the level it's got to break, right? It's testing it right now.
Yeah, and then there's VWAP at 543. That's the next resistance. So AMST still looking pretty good. Codex that lost 2.
Oh, the poet continues to go lower here. 13. Oh. Remember, I was telling you my pro trader buddy that was shorting this thing had target of 10. I'm gonna text him here in a little bit. Might give him an early congrats. Hopefully he doesn't get mad at me.
He's shorting this to 10, you said?
He texted me right here. He texted me on Thursday and said, Ryan, I'm shorting this at 19. And I was like, okay, I don't want to use his name because I didn't get permission, but I will. I'm going to try to bring him on, actually. I said, okay, I'm not going to be able to do that. Too rich for my blood. He texts me back in the after hours and he goes, Ryan, it looks like I'm feeling some pain in the after hours here. Added to my short at 22 and I'm going to add from 25 up to 35. So I don't know what his average price is, but he told me he knows it's going to come in. He outlined the gamma squeeze mechanics or logistics, if you will. Anne Marie said she loved it, so it rang true to her. And he targeted 10 as the potential, and we're only 3 points away from that. So Poet continuing to sink here. That's a good trade. That's a good trade. Wish I did that one, but not my thing.
Oh, it's fantastic. Getting a whole bunch of different pieces of information here. Vuzi, Forsman saying that Vuzi broke yesterday's high of day. It's great to see that continue running. Rivian falling into the 12s. No comment. I don't like the company.
Yeah. So interesting thing here on Rivian, though. So we both, I think, are in the same boat there. We don't love that the company loses $1 billion a quarter for a long-term swing or for a hold or anything like that. I don't love it either. However, and I've actually talked to more traders here that don't really care about the EV angle. They mentioned that this stock is a good trading stock. Like back and forth, there can be, and there were actually a couple of people from our room that were trading Rivian here. I know I've got a couple of Benzinga employees that like this name too. So decent trader stock, but 13, I'm with you for a hold here. Don't love it at all, frankly.
And then also Webcoin mentioning that the Gipper is moving, but very high risk. And then Kathy also mentioning Keys. This is one that we've looked at quite a bit.
And don't they report earnings tonight?
That's what she's asking about.
Earnings play, yeah. Sorry.
It's been on a run. Let me look at the chart because if it's been on a nice run, then there may be some weakness. Oh no, it's actually been selling off. So we've lost the 20-day SMA and we're coming down to the 50-day SMA. I'd like to see support, kick up right there. That's going to be at about 320.5.
Okay.
So could come into that. Hopefully we get support there. That would be a big support area, as a matter of fact. So maybe we'll get that. I don't know what how they're going to report how great it's going to be. They've been on a great run since then. Looks like they're getting price targets of 375, 415. So analysts believe this is going higher. I wouldn't get in the way of it.
Yeah, I don't have a position for this. Kathy, let me know if you take any on that. Also, Chris going ham right here. Vuzi continuing to trade higher. This above 4. This is a nice pop above yesterday's intraday high. And then really quick, just to clean this up, Jamrock, what charting tool is being used that I'm sharing on the screen? I'm just going to be more specific on this. You're looking at Benzinga Pro. One of the features in it is that it incorporates the trading view chart, but this is a financial news wire platform complete with scanners, charting, audio squawk, AI, et cetera, et cetera. So it is Benzinga Pro is what you're seeing here on the screen. Vuzi, this is good. Chris, registering for you here this morning. Giddy up.
At WNW, we had a pop up to looks like a little over $5, $5.13 appears to be what $5.11 is what we ended up going up to. Now we're selling, we're giving a good portion of that back. Be very careful with WNW. It looked like we did get a nice little trade out of there. I don't know how much more it's going to provide, but keep it on your radar if it looks like it's going to set up. Good luck to you. Codex is coming back up, by the way.
And also SPY. So we talked about that 734 area. We got a pull here. I actually did get a buy signal from the indicator, although I did not take the position. This has now moved through the VWAP and is trying to continue to push higher here towards 736. So this actually decent bounce here already in SPY. No position for me, unfortunately.
Great moves here in Vuzix. Getting up to a point here where it's running into some resistance from last year, October of 2025. It's also this is also a consolidation area from February last year and December of 2024. So might be coming up to some tough resistance here between 4 and 450. That's where we're in right now. If we can hold above 4, I think that'd be great. We may get a little bit of a pullback here, but it's looking pretty good. Like we could continue higher. I'd like to see this get to 6. That'd be fantastic. But I don't think it's going to happen in one day. It may take a little bit of time. But so far, Vuzix looking really good here.
Selena saying Starwood is oversold. Selena, that is a really good mention. I am actually going to tack on a little bit here. If it goes lower today, I will tack on a little bit more. Thank you for the mention. Starwood, by the way, this is a long-term hold. The purpose of this hold is to get paid 10% on the dividend. This is a humongous Tim Melvin pick. I've held this for a long time. I add only on days when it's down. I would agree with you, Selena. I think it is oversold. I have no indication that the dividend's going anywhere or that the company is in any trouble. I'm adding right here. Thank you for that mention, by the way. I wasn't even looking at that. Joe asking, what price did Anne-Marie like Poet? I don't know if she liked Poet. She liked the short thesis that I read aloud from one of my trader friends. I don't know that she actually liked the stock, and I certainly don't want to speak for her, but we can ask her today. Also, one more thing, 4 minutes, we're going to have a all access for you. So we're going to play that. We're coming right back after that. We'll still be in the chat trading with you while it's going on. One of my favorite guests, by the way, that we bring on for all access. We've had him on a few times before. He's hilarious. And the company was a huge winner from the last time we brought it on.
Codex coming up to our pre-market high and trying to get through 250. There's a seller on the way right there.
Oh, man.
It might go into, I mean, I don't know if it will, but it could go into an upside halt if we break through this with volume. So we'll, see what ends up happening right here.
I wasn't in this. 13, you were on this from the morning. Register ring for you as that has worked out now. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Also be careful with AMST starting to get some upper shadows there. It looks like we could start to lose VWAP here. This is getting some declining volume. Ruby, on the other hand, that's trying to turn around. I don't know how great this is going to end up being. It's struggling with the VWAP right now, but volume is going to tell us a story here. If we can get some more volume and recapture VWAP, we might recover. But there's probably better things to trade here. Let's see. FIG looks like this wants to try and push higher. It's starting to put in a series of upper shadows. I think this current candle will tell us if it can climb beyond the 25-28 level. Where there's a seller in a way.
Yo, great mention on Fig 13. Someone else mentioned this in the chat, right? Did anyone stick with this? Remember, we got that nice little punch up there. Great for a trade, pulled all the way back to the 15 EMA and then launched again. So 25-28 going to be your resistance area here. Did anyone hit this the second time around on 13? I'm glad you mentioned this.
No problem. Looks like AMST is getting a little weaker, coming down to the 65 EMA. We'll see if that can hold up. It did provide support earlier in the pre-market. Okay. Kodak's not really doing a whole lot at the moment. Trying to gather up some strength there to push higher, but it's...
How's Cerberus doing?
Is that over 300?
It is. And 13, right. Again, one of the reasons I wanted to check this is because we talked about this yesterday. We talked about 300 being the resistance area. Absolutely. And look what we did here today. We ripped right through it. I got 300 to 301 as a possible support area. We've got VWAP here at 307.
Then let's see if on weakness, if 300 holds up.
Yeah, that'll help confirm the firmness of that support area.
Confirm the firmness.
Confirm the firmness. That doesn't sound like good English. You're right.
How about this? Confirmness.
Oh, see. Cut it right there, producer. That's the promo.
Yep. Over here at Benzinga, we bring you confirmness.
Confirmness, baby. Let's go. Ondas lower, Velo lower, Goldman Sachs lower, Tesla lower, Apple higher, Big Mama, Costco higher. Okay.
Looking like you may still get slightly lower prints in Starwood. I was just looking at the chart. I could see maybe 16 happening.
Zach, you're saying tech is bringing us down. Tech popped earlier. It is coming back in a little bit. So if we take a look at the cues here, so that pop being sold right now.
Yep. I'm glad I said something about AMST. It's still holding above the 65 EMA, but looking a little weak. Ruby struggling with the VWAP. WNW, still nothing there. Codex might make the move right here. Just get a little bit more volume expansion. We're going to try to move through that 250 area.
Real quick here, Kamal, good to see you on the morning program. Kamal asking, is this a SPY buy area? 13, I'd love to get your opinion here. We talked about 735 being a potential support area. We're already through that. We're doing our best to hold yesterday's intraday lows. So I suppose if we bounce from here, this would actually mark it as a buy area. I don't feel great about that. But if I go back to the daily chart, the bigger area that I do feel pretty good about is going to be 725 to 728. That's only 5 points away now if we keep pulling, Kamal. So I would say you'd probably have to be nimble here. Because a better support area is not far away. 13, do you have any opinions on the SPY before we do all access?
Let me look at that real quick. By the way, FIG just ripped up to 25.75. Now, I don't know what the time horizon is here for the SPY purchase, but if this is an intraday trade, I would say maybe. It looks like 732 is a support area where you might get a bounce. But if this is a longer term than that, then I think this is coming in towards that gap that was established on the 5th and 6th of May. I think that we're going to continue to weaken over the next couple of days, maybe even a little bit longer than that, since we're having NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. It's looking like we could head lower.
Yeah, 735 was going to be one of the short-term support areas, Kamal. We went right through it. I don't know that I feel good. In fact, I think I would rather wait for this to turn around and confirm a buy zone before just trying to go after the falling knife. All right, producer, let's run that AA. Let's do that right now. We'll be right back. Hey, Zingers, welcome back to another All Access. Today, we have another exciting guest for you. We are speaking with Lewis Black, president and CEO of Almonty Industries. Almonty is the leading supplier of conflict-free tungsten, ticker ALM on the NASDAQ. All Access starts right now. Welcome, Lewis. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I am doing fantastically well today. Thank you for asking.
Let me dive right in. Almonty posted Q1 revenue of $25 million, which was up 221% year over year, with operating cash flow turning positive. How are you viewing the company's current model with tungsten prices continuing to hit record highs? And what factor has this played into your operational decision making?
I think that Q1 was interesting. And as you said, we went into operational profit, but that was including the fact that we're still, we were still building out formerly the world's largest tungsten mine. So that's always had a sort of uneven, impact on our balance sheets. But I think what it highlights is that's a 136-year-old mine with a grade more than 5 times less than we have in Korea. And yet it's always been profitable, but now it hasn't seen these levels of profit for 20 odd years. So I think it's really put a mark in the sand to say, well, one can only imagine now when Korea comes online as it's doing so right now, what impact that's going to have on our earnings profile. So my view is the most important thing to remember is fiscal discipline. And that's actually the biggest challenge we face, because I'm in a company, like every mining company, surrounded by engineers, geologists, metallurgists, who are quite happy to spend every penny I'll ever likely to get my hands on. And with, they'll always come up with a good reason. But the fact that the margin now is so dramatic at these prices is that I'm really, I'm being the real Grinch as they're looking at me, because I'm trying to keep everyone's expectations to focus on remaining fiscally lean and disciplined. And that's probably my biggest challenge.
Okay, a heavy lies the crown type of thing. It seems like you have your priorities in order, though. The Sangdong commissioning ceremony in March was a major milestone. Where does the phase 1 ramp up stand today? And how are you thinking about the timeline to phase 2?
Well, phase 1, we're about halfway through the sign off from Metso. I think we're a little bit further now. I hadn't checked since the beginning of last week, so a week has passed. But ultimately, it's coming online now. As of today, our off-taker from Pennsylvania, GDP Planty Group, are actually on site inspecting the fruits of their labor. So they're very excited because, of course, with the shortages of material in the world, they are very happy that this is, by complete dumb luck, it's happening to be coming online right now. So they're there. We've had all kinds of people that we would never have entertained beforehand coming through to the site, the biggest companies in Korea, because ultimately tungsten is a keystone metal for all of these players and actors. I think with phase 2, we've already started this month the design work. So we hope that by June, July, we'll start the underground mine infrastructure of opening up new galleries, and we will finalize the drawings for the additional ball mill and rod mill that we have already space in the plant to insert. So you would start to see phase 2 have a meaningful impact toward the end of this year. It'll take about 4 months to open up the first gallery. You're going to open up 3 new galleries. So it's a 12-month roll-up. But I think by the end of this year, you're going to start seeing that in the books.
Okay, perfect. End of this year. That's not far away, frankly. Now,
well,
go ahead,
let me just, Ryan, steady down. The reason is because we always planned phase 2. So a lot of the cost for phase 2 was already washed into phase 1. We were always going to move straight into phase 2. We weren't going to be one of these guys that were going to, let's open phase 2 straight away. That wasn't what our lender said we could do. The lender financed phase 1. Phase 2 is on us, but the cost of it is around $17 million. So a lot of the costs have already been, washed into phase 1. So it was always in our plan to go straight into an expansion, and it's a doubling of our output. So it's very important.
That was a good segue too. Now the balance sheet shows about $260 million in cash in a very strong position. With Sangdong now in ramp up, how are you prioritizing capital allocation?
Well, firstly, last year I had about a 6% retaining CapEx cost on revenue, but now with the prices, it's now sub 1%. So it's again, it's not having any meaningful impact. I intend to continue strengthening my balance sheet. I have good reason to do so. Firstly, because we obviously are now moving to look at our downstream tungsten oxide plant in Korea. Secondly, we're working through the drilling of the molybdenum, which we hope to have finished and have an updated resource report and therefore a mine plan by the summer, which is important. We have obviously Montana to consider. And also because I intend to start to look at sharing our technology and knowledge, because we are really the last credible man standing, into the wider community in the capital markets, because we're going to start looking at investing in projects that we believe have viability. It's important that we continue to exert our influence to the benefit of our shareholders, but also other shareholders and other companies. Capital success has not been very prevalent in tungsten, except unless you were in us. It's important that we use our knowledge of how to do this, and it's a very scarce resource, this human capital, by now also looking at investing in other projects as well. And our book, our share register, are very enthusiastic we pursue this as well, because they want to follow us. So we are going to continue our essential domination of this space in the West for the foreseeable future.
Okay, that sounds absolutely fabulous. As Sangdong scales, how does Panasquaria's role in the production mix and operational portfolio evolve going forward?
Panascara should always be viewed as a profit-making knowledge base of tungsten. With 5 generations of people who have done this, human capital is rarer than tungsten mines, and tungsten mines are already scarce enough. So as long as it keeps paying its way and making me some profits, it will exist as a pool of knowledge while I transplant all that knowledge into Korea and into Montana, into other sites that we do. So its future is secure for now, but ultimately, despite my emotional investment in that project, which has made me a great deal of money over the years, I am first and foremost a shareholder, and value is key. And when the time comes, the time will come. But for now, it's making great money. It's giving me access to the knowledge I need to be able to successfully build and mitigate my risk in build. And that's how I look at Panascara.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Look, thanks for joining us today, Lewis. I appreciate you coming back, and I look forward to more follow-ups in the future.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. That was Lewis Black, Director, President, and CEO of Almonte Industries, ticker ALM on the NASDAQ. Thanks for joining us for another All Access. We'll see you next time.
Oh, well, hello there. Looks like I'm taking over for just a moment while we wait for Ryan to get back. And according to what the SPY's showing us, we did get a bit of a rebound, but not quite at the 732 area I was looking at. It was more closer to 733. Got a rebound and ended up climbing back up towards the 730. So nice little rebound there. Oh, looks like Ryan's back.
I'm back. I don't know
right.
how great the connection is, but I am back here.
It sounds fine to me.
Okay, cool.
You want to pull up some other ones? I don't know if are you able to share, or should I just keep doing with mine?
Yeah, no, I'm sharing here. We've got both of our screens shared here. What I was watching in during the All Access there was the move here on SPY. I put it in the chat there. Kamal, I gotta say, man, I know I said I didn't trust that bounce area, but you were right. You were right. It bounced hard from that area there. That SPY trade was pretty good if you took it.
Meanwhile, well, that was going on. We had Codex break out to 275. That was the high it's put in. It's trying to hold above VWAP right now. So nice moves during the All Access. We also had a nice little trade happen with WNW. That came off of the 200 EMA, started coming back up. I captured a little trade in there with that. I was looking for a break over VWAP, couldn't get it, so not in this anymore. And then we also had, what was I looking at? I think it was MTVA. That's continuing to leak here, approaching the 200 EMA. Buzik's going sideways. And that's about all the excitement that I see at the moment. Looks like Ruby's trying to recapture the 200 EMA. I don't know if that's going to do it. Volume needs to be a lot better than what it has right now. Those are pretty good trades.
FIG actually pulled back a little bit. I'm noticing that right here as well. Yep. I know several of you folks stayed in FIG. That was pretty good. FIG pulling back again here. We'll see if it holds 25, basically right at the VWAP right now.
What are our thoughts on Amazon down here at 260?
So your thoughts on the stock price, like if it's a good buy now, or thoughts on the actual company? Love Amazon. Would only really kind of add it on weakness, but I'd have to actually look at the daily chart to figure out what spot I'd want to add that at.
To me, let me look at something real quick here. To me, it looks like we're coming in some more. I would say at least 250. I can't really give a time frame on how soon that happens, but to me, it looks like that's where we're headed.
Okay. FIG is holding its VWAP. Sorry, 13. Go ahead.
No problem. And sorry for interrupting, but I think one of the things to watch for this week, we were talking about it yesterday, is we have a lot of retail companies reporting this week. That's going to give us a really good indication of just how strong the consumer is right now and if they're able to hold up. We had a mention earlier that credit card debt is exceedingly high. And we should start to see some of that pressure carry over into some of these companies that are reporting. We just had Home Depot. Later on this week, we're also getting Walmart, Ross Stores, TJX. There's a couple of others that are also reporting. I'm trying to think of BJ Wholesale. There you are.
Yep.
So yeah, all kinds of retail stores at Lowe's, at Target. These are all going to tell us just how well the consumer is performing. And that if it's not looking great, I think that could assist in pulling Amazon down towards 250.
Okay, and then I went over Home Depot here this morning. Here, let me get this off the screen. Let me find the right one. There we go. I went over Home Depot this morning. We said the exact same thing about the consumer there. Here were a couple of things. This is not a weak report for Home Depot because sales were growing and guidance was maintained, but it's not a clean beat. Profitability is softer and traffic is down. That was one of the things that we learned from the report. And I actually have the stats for that. So U.S. comparable sales were positive by 0.4, but comparable customer transactions fell by 1.3%. So the read through on that is that some of the high ticket items are still being purchased, but there's less trips to Home Depot, less foot traffic there. And I'll be very curious to see if that effect plays through to Lowe's and then some of the other retail names that you just listed there, 13. And Home Depot, by the way, that sold off from the open, didn't it? Or it sold off in the pre-market some more. Yeah, this is down almost 3% now. So interesting. So that bounced once, but this is still lower than when we first talked about it in the pre-market.
I like 280.
You like 280 on Home Depot? Okay. We talked, I think, 265. I think Lion liked 250. You like 280. I think all those spots make sense.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hit those lower points as well. I'm not going to really try to call the bottom here, but I do have a line at 280 that I've had for quite a while, so I would lean on that.
Okay. Fig still holding above its VWAP. Ondas still getting pounded. So is Velo, below 17 now on Velo. Oh man, that was a good sell at the $20 level, 13. I'm glad that was called out live here.
Yeah, waiting for 15 or maybe even lower than that before we jump back into that one, or add, depending on where you're at with that. Yeah. But still like the company, had great earnings. They're a big strategic partner of SpaceX and Anduril. I don't think they're done. Oof. AMST starting to go towards lower prints. Fig, as you were pointing out earlier, still up here, trying to hold above VWAP, but looking a little weak. I mean, it's just, looks like a broader tech sell-off.
The Qs did roll over a little bit. And interestingly enough, I know several of you were talking about Microsoft here. This really needed to get above 435. No go. No joy today. Zach asking if the space theme is out for the very near future. I want to say no to that with the SpaceX IPO coming out. That might be the sell the news event.
Yeah, that probably will be. But I think that you're going to, we are getting a pretty, clear weakening in tech. So it's, and with this talk of interest rates not, coming down, but potentially rising, it's putting pressure on all those names, quantum, drones, space. But the excitement over the SpaceX IPO has, provided some support. I don't know how great it's going to end up being if we do get that broader sell-off that we're anticipating after NVIDIA reports. But I would say, mark some levels off and get ready for some opportunities, because I think that once we get past that, these space names will, I think, fare better.
Has anyone applied for SpaceX shares or whatever, tried to request them? I guess you can't do that till the IPO prices.
We need to get that S1 first.
Yeah.
we need to get that S1. And then it's very interesting if depending on the timing of their filings, because it could line up their roadshow with the June 4th key date, which is the same day that they launched their Falcon 9 rocket on their maiden voyage back in 2010.
Does anyone else think IWM is at a support area here? Maybe 268?
IWM.
Yeah,
Wow.
268, 270. Market might be gearing for another bounce here.
Yeah, maybe 270. I mean, it looks like we're putting in a bearish pattern, or starting to. But if that's the case, then we could see some 270 prints and a rebound. It's real interesting because if we get that and it comes back up, resistance I think is going to be up at the 20-day SMA, which would help with the bearish pattern.
Selena looking for Rocket Lab entries. It's RKLB. Didn't we talk about this a little bit lower? Let me go to my bigger chart, Selena. I feel like we talked about these entry spots before.
Thought on Saidu.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it's really not that different from. I mean, it's nice that they've managed to slow their losses, but it's still not profitable. And this I still think this will fare pretty well when the whole theme gets a lift again. But it's just there's so many pressures right now in the market that are pulling a lot of tech down, space included.
Okay, so really quickly, 13, this is what I was trying. I couldn't draw the mental picture of Rocket Lab in my head. We had added this trend line here recently, and we talked about maybe back testing this. Well, we're through it now. To my eye here, and I'd love to get your opinion, to my eye here, it sure seems like 100. 100 is going to be one of the recent highs. It's also going to have the round number effect. It's going to be a retracement of this candle, a pretty healthy retracement of this recent move up. I shouldn't say candle, recent move up. And by the time we get down there, the 20-day might be supporting us right at 100.
Yeah, I'll look at that in just a second. Real quick on side of space, $3 looks like your hold the line support. I would want to see it hold the 20 and 50-day SMAs, but those are the 50 especially. But $3 looks like that could be end up being the real support area inside us if we go lower. So if we lose 3, then there's likely going to be some lower prints coming. Rocket Lab, I think it might be 100. It might be a little bit above 100, but I could see 100 being the support level. It was formerly resistance back at the beginning of the year, so it makes sense. You also have the 20-day SMA that's just underneath it, so we could see a move down through 100. It finds that support and comes back up and closes above it. So there's a number of scenarios that I could see with Rocket Lab. It already hit my target, but this thing may still have a lot more room to go following a corrective move. How down are we on this right now?
On Rocket Lab, we're down 11%, dude.
Okay, so we could still see this. We could still see this come down another 10-20%.
And real quick, Fig gave it up. G-Man, you're exactly right. And looking at the broader market here, we are red across the board. So you know what? The Dow bounced. It's still red by about 0.5%, but SPY is at the lows. Tech pulled all the way and set new lows here. Captain Cloudy's hitting SPY puts. That's a register ring if I've ever seen one. So
looks like Codex is trying to push up again. We do have a couple of highs that we could draw a trend line. Maybe that gives us a bit of a target to shoot for, which would take it up to slightly higher highs. Maybe 285 is where it ends up going if we do get the volume. Oh yeah, that's right, Joe. Thanks for bringing that up. Elon Musk lost the lawsuit against OpenAI, so I guess there's some selling in Tesla because of that. I don't think that's warranted though.
395, or well, 396 your low there for Tesla. Boy, Ondas getting smoked today. Down another 6%. Holy cow. Holy cow.
No, and that's one of the things I think I mentioned it last week about Oracle, and I was concerned about the $200 level. Looks like that was the call, because we hit 200 on last Thursday. We also hit 200 on May 7th, which is also a Thursday. And both times we reversed. So 200, very, very clear level in Oracle resistance.
Fig trying to hold on to 55.
And are we about to get the move in Codex? What are you going to do, Codex?
I see my trend. I got trend indicators on a bunch of different charts. They are all bearish. They are all bearish.
But RGTZ working out really well.
There you go. A lot of those inverses are probably doing that.
Somebody mentioned MUD earlier. That's also doing pretty well. Codex still climbing here. Trying for that new session highs. That trend line might get hit if we get enough volume.
Pretty good bounce off the VWAP there too. Retro, thanks for sending me those pictures, by the way. Those Teton Mountains, man, I tell you what, you're in an awesome corner of the world right now. Enjoy it, buddy.
Getting a little DraftKings mention here about how this is trying to climb back over 26. Certainly it is back up there right now after visiting that level on Friday, May 8th. I do have a silver cross here on the daily chart that just happened last Wednesday. Maybe we do see 2750 soon. That's a big resistance spot. Now, if we do end up recapturing the 65, well, you know what? I don't want to look at that on a daily chart. Let me look at the so 30. Actually 2750 and 30 would be the next two resistance areas I would see here in DraftKings. So we are coming back up to those. Really, really big need to get over 27 at least. Otherwise, I think it gets rejected.
Speaking of rejected, your Codex is getting rejected there as well. That was right at the previous high, right at 260.
Yep, 260. Coming down to VWAP, on the volume to push higher. May end up falling through VWAP as well.
Interesting. Here's another stock that we briefly talked about yesterday. I actually missed some of the discussion that you had yesterday because I was dealing with the worker that was at my house here. But here's Race. This is Ferrari. We've actually been watching this for a long time. We've got some pretty good long-term levels here on Ferrari. And this is actually dipping into one of the buy zones here. And so far, we appear to be holding it. We actually traded out of this channel here today. Ferrari up 3%.
Yeah, and that's actually what needs to happen with this. This conversation we were having about this was that it might provide a short-term trade here. At least that's what some of the folks were going to try to do with Race. And the concern that I had was that we were trading underneath the 50-month SMA, and if we were trading underneath 330, and that's a very key level that we cannot close beneath on a monthly chart, because if we do, it will be the first time since October of 2023 that we have, and it will be the third close beneath the 50-month SMA, which is bearish. So we want to see this end the month out here at above 330, because at least we might get a turnaround that allows us to recapture the 50-month. But closing under 330 this month would be, I would think, would be bad.
Chart does a good job illustrating that. So maybe we'll ask Anne Marie about Race. I don't know how good the options are for that. Let me just take a quick peek at that. See how liquid these bad boys are. And not going to be enough in that chain, I'm afraid.
Looks like we're getting some support here. Some things are trying to turn around. Don't know if that's going to end up happening here. They're looking a little weak.
Yeah, market is trying to bounce from that area, but I don't think so. Futures rolling over to the lows.
Let's see here.
MU testing 660. Yes, it is. Where are we at the daily?
NATO is starting to consider Hormuz deployment to protect ships.
Well.
How about that?
Micron, I still think closer to 600. We'll see, though.
Yeah, let me look at Micron because that's one that I still think needs to come in a little bit more.
Yeah,
wow,
I'm not surprised.
There's analysts that are thinking this thing should be over 800. Someone with one of them thinking it's 1100. Wow. Well, let's take a look at this daily chart here because I think that there's going to be support at lower prices still. Yeah, I think I would wait for 630. Maybe it might not even be there that it gets support. It could be even lower, but 630 would be my earliest spot. I think there are some other folks that were looking for lower.
G-Man here saying below that, the SPY support level is 731 to 732. We're at 733 right now, so we are right at that possible area if we leak a little bit more. G-Man, are you looking for a possible bounce on SPY?
Joe is saying MU's testing 660 again. Porkins or Luke? It's got a little problem here.
Micron went the way of Porkins, so he got blown to pieces. We couldn't hold him off for enough seconds, unfortunately. Oh, that was red leader. Yeah, my bad.
Micron went the way of Porkins.
Codex, that could not get back above 260. SOXS is probably rocking here. Poet in a 12 handle. I'm actually just going to text him now because he might say something funny and then I can read it to the group.
I'm at Manny Boffins. Many Boffins, I thought it was. Or Boffins.
He's died to bring us this information.
I don't know. I can't remember what the exact terminology was, but she seemed pretty upset about it.
Mon Mothma, she was devastated.
I know. I'm downplaying it.
I see. Andas at the 200 daily. Let's hope it holds.
Yes, Jay, that is exactly the kind of thing that I've been expecting with this, and we could see a really big acceleration of that with Micron. I'm sorry, not Micron, NVIDIA earnings because of all the leverage products and all the ETFs that it's in and the ETFs upon ETFs that NVIDIA is in. If that has a big sell-off off their earnings to make room for some IPOs, I think that we are going to see some compounded moves down.
This is part of like the ETF bubble that you kind of talked about, right? Just too many of them.
There's more ETFs than there are stocks. I don't believe it. WMW is trading over the VWAP. This junker. It was a nice mention of Starwood when you guys talked about it. It provided a good trade.
Oh, did it really?
Oh, yeah. It was down at 682. It's now at 704. You got about 20 cents there almost.
Great mention, Selena. Great mention.
Ruby is screaming lower.
Velo into a 15 handle. There is no bid on that stock right now.
Oh, good. We're getting close to this the buy area. That's fine. Let this thing come in. Let it come in.
Comcast is up 1%. Is that a joke? Is that some type of funny joke?
They must have fixed their network upgrades.
I have not got the indication that they have fixed anything yet. Now, it does look like my modem is back up. But I didn't. What?
It's funny because you said it looks like my modem's back, and you started sounding like a robot, and you cut out.
Well, I'm not on it.
Perfect timing.
I'm not on the modem. I'm on the hotspot. But yeah,
Oh,
I did
man.
not get. Yeah, I did not get. Yeah, I don't know. If I move back there, I'm going to have to do the switcheroo again. And if I do it while Anne Marie's on, she's a pro. She knows what she's doing. But I think I can get away with just the hotspot here.
WNW still trying to climb higher. Looks like it could try for 6. I'm sorry, not 6. 645. Codex, that's all she wrote. Next support area is going to be down around 190. I think this, we were just starting to see the beginning of this come in.
How did Home Depot do? Because the Dow basically came back here. I know it's still lower by 1/4%. Home Depot sub 300. Home Depot came back. Yeah. Okay.
Bounce. Yeah. Come down to 290. Actually 280, 289.10. Getting a rebound here. Trying to re-enter the 300 handle. See if that has sellers or not. NVIDIA getting a bump into earnings? Probably, but it's going to be the liquidity event needed for sellers to make their exit. So I think, and we saw something similar to that last time where they reported really good earnings and it ended up selling off.
Producer, don't tear your hair out, but Anne Marie's having internet trouble.
She on Comcast?
I don't know. She's in a different state than me, though. It's just this whole internet thing, man.
RGTZ continues to climb higher. Really just 2 red candles and nothing but green since then. Looks like we're getting a big pull here across a lot of different names.
Yeah, the pull is to S&P Tech. They're at the lows. The Dow's holding in there, but the rest of this is getting shellacked. And if you're a small cap in either of those, today is not a good day. Velo, Ondas, 0 bounce in either of those names. Both of them small.
No,
small cap.
All the hot runners, the drones, the quantum, the space. It's all getting hit.
Yep. It's all getting hit today. You're absolutely right. All right, I got to open the door to my office. It is hot in here. I'll be right back.
No problem. We're still getting some more of a lift here with WNW. It's trying to get above the recent high I just put in at 6. So we did tap 6. It's trying to push higher. Maybe if it does get higher, it goes to 740. We got to get past 6 again. And AMST recovering. I think they're going to find some resistance pretty soon with that one as well. Except for Codex trying to find some support down here at 2. Abbott up 1.5%. Rocket Lab will try for 105. I think 105 is about where it is. I think that's where it's going to go to. Home Depot still climbing. It's over 300 now. And FIG is getting some support from the 65 EMA. We'll see if that can turn around as well.
Now, I know the day's not over yet, but how do you suppose this Home Depot trading action applies to Lowe's?
Look at their earnings report. It probably have the same.
I'm saying if Lowe's, sorry if I didn't give you enough context there to answer that. If Lowe's has a similar earnings report to Home Depot and trades down, is there a good chance that Lowe's is a bounce candidate? Because just judging by what I'm seeing here today, I'm going.
All right. To answer his question, it's going to be a different day tomorrow.
What's up?
I was just trying to answer your question because you massively cut out.
Oh, did I cut out there? Yep. Sorry about that.
It's going to be a different day tomorrow, so maybe we see something similar. It looks like Lowe's has already kind of been hammered down, and it's putting a reversal candle here today. So maybe we see some follow through with that tomorrow since they're reporting in the morning. It's just kind of an interesting candle here. It's also down at a support area. It looks like we might not even get that weakness that Home Depot got. We may just see this climb higher on earnings, but because it's just an interesting candle that we have here today. It looks like it's a reversal candle. So we'll see. But again, we still have a whole day ahead of us. I really can't determine if that's what's going to happen here. It might be the same way as Home Depot today, where it sells off and then rebounds. I can't say for sure. This thing looks like it's going to turn around anyway because it's already being sold off into earnings.
Okay, good stuff. Just wondering.
Yep. Well, AMST, nice recovery, trying to make its way up towards the session highs.
It's got to get through VWAP at 242.
It looks like RGTZ is starting to go sideways. We may be getting a reversal in tech. Funny how I'm using that as an indicator.
Did you trade this again this morning? This is a great move.
No.
No, neither did I.
I was just on some of the other movers. They were working out pretty well. I should have just picked up some RGTZ and just held on to it, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Cerberus, I'm starting to question if this is going to even hold above 300. We got as high as 320, 391. It's starting to look like it might weaken here. If we come back underneath the VWAP, I'd watch for 308.50 to hold.
I'm still curious to see if this thing can hold 300. Oh, I just got a text message that my payment to Xfinity was processed. Not the day for that.
At least some things are still working.
One. Yeah, they have no trouble collecting your money. They've never had an outage on that. Take care of yourself, Judge. Good to see you. Joe says, I don't like Home Depot and Lowe's in these inflationary times. Who's going to do home upgrades? We talked about this earlier. Those that feel trapped in the home that they have because they can't upgrade because interest rates are too high, and trading a 3% mortgage for a 6.5% mortgage is just fiscally irresponsible. Michael asking if we trade mud. So yes, last time I traded mud, I traded it for a loss. It didn't work. I was a little too early on the Micron short. And I would actually say, Michael, that as far as 13 and I go, we trade mud more than we short Micron. So I would say if we're talking about playing Micron to the downside, I think it's a safe assumption that we're either doing it via puts or with mud.
Looks like you're still going to have some more downside in Micron. And it looks like mud could still go to 21 soon. It's like some of these movers we were looking at are turning around. Looks like there's a reversal happening in a lot of different names.
Well, the SPY's trying to bounce here. The S&P futures put in a bullish candle on the 15-minute chart. I mean, again, though, we'll see if it. I don't want to be too early from this. Nasdaq and SPY are bouncing here, so I'm not surprised to see some of the other names bouncing. I'll tell you what, though, the small cap names that got absolutely punished, they're not really bouncing. At least not yet.
Too tied to rates.
Yeah, no question.
And Jay, it's a great point.
That's what I outlined this morning. I outlined the barbell. I outlined that there are folks that are not buying a home because they are priced out of buying a home. Those would be ideal Home Depot customers. And on the other side, you have the folks that aren't totally strapped yet, but aren't going to make a decision to move because they're locked into a lower interest rate. They're probably thinking about upgrading their home since they're going to be in there longer than expected. And I think that kind of back and forth is what's going on.
If we're starting to see some exiting of paper assets, if these continue to weaken, maybe we see more physical assets being picked up, like homes. I'm not necessarily sure we'll see that with homes because I still think homes are very expensive, but relative to stocks, they could be considered cheap. Netflix from 86 boom. Did that have a movie?
Netflix traded up to 91 today.
Wow. I mean, from what? Wow. This thing went down to 85. Yeah, I still think that you're going to run into trouble with that 50-day SMA.
Tom says my mortgage rate is 2.85 and they will have to carry me out feet first before I let that one go. Tom, that's like the same position I'm in. I'm at 2.625. And I'm like, do I voluntarily give this up? Like, I'm not made of money. That would be a stupid thing to do. I'm with you on that one. All right, 13. We are waiting on Anne Marie, but she has no internet. Let me follow up with her and see what the story is here.
I can stick around for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Looks like Boozy's trying to recapture VWAP. Codex struggling now.
You know what? That's a good mention. What did Boozy do on this pullback here?
It ran to 4. It blasted through it, went as high as 424, and now we're struggling to hold 4 right now.
Okay, so it's still holding here. G-Man says, Ryan, 732.83 on SPY is a beast. Pullback is possible, but hard. Well,
That's
here we
kind of
go.
where we found support today, isn't it?
Yeah, so 733. So it looks like it's trying to go through that right here. And I actually have VWAP on SPY up at 734.14.
Yeah, lots of names starting to turn around here. Starting to see some recovery efforts.
Anyone looking for a long side day trade entry on any of these names? No, Tesla, no joy yet.
Let's see here. Let's look at. Wow, that is a very red space watch list. Let's look at the Max 7. Let's see what they're doing. Everything red except for everything red.
All right, Anne Marie is here. Anne Marie, can I get a thumbs up? Oh, I got a salute and a thumbs up. That's.
Well, I better get out of here then. Jeez.
All right, 13. Really good stuff here today. I once again thank you for picking up the slack for Comcast's crappy connection. Any closing words for the group?
Oh, another fun day, folks. And, it's a little bit more red than the ones we've seen before, but we still had some good trades. Hopefully y'all made money. Let's come back here tomorrow. We'll find some more movers. Hopefully we'll have a little bit better of a day, and we'll see what these earnings prints give us. But until then, have fun with Anne Marie. Enjoy the options trading, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, 13, thanks very much for everything. We really appreciate you. 13's departure leaves room for Anne Marie. Let's bring her on. Tom says, yes, bring on Miss Sunshine. We sure could use it. So there you go, Anne Marie. You are Miss Sunshine, and you're tasked with bringing the sunshine here today.
All right, so let's clean a couple of these things up. Let's hide that. And then just take a look at SPY. Now, I know last time.
You want to share your chart?
Yeah, of course. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
So here is SPY. You know, the last time we were on together, I was very timid about taking long positions. I was very cautious. And so what we're seeing right here is why I think that we should remain a little cautious. And then let's take a look at just a couple of things, and then we'll talk about what's going on. So, interestingly, we are at a pretty nice support zone. However, we've got ourselves really savage downward motion right now, and a lot of people are buying to what it looks like to cover the shorts that they were in. So there's some big buys that look like closing orders at this time. That being said, the selling force is still a bit downward. And so what we have to realize is the number one thing we don't want to do is sell the lows right here. It's just not it's not what we've been rewarded for in times past. However, selling the bounce is going to be something to watch. And the reason for that is a couple of fold, but bounce action events could easily be areas to sell. And so for the SPY, that number, that line in the sand is $735. So write it down, give yourself a little bit of an alert somewhere around that edge, and wait for it to breach that zone and make sure it stays above it by at least an hourly candlestick formation. If you get that sorted out, you're going to be in pretty good shape to consider a shorting action in grand fashion. Right now, we are in a counter trend bounce. And so if you want to look at something pretty interesting, you could go to the SPY for an intraday long event by either buying a really cheap call spread into, say, 735. Maybe you do, and I know I don't normally do these, but this is sitting at a very clear bounce zone. And so you could say, hey, I want to buy the 734 and sell the 735. And let's see what that gives us. Geez, do I have enough SPY trades up here? That's 36 cents. So literally a 3-to-1, almost 3-to-1 if you decide to do that. It's only 36 cents. So you could say, hey, I'm going to try and buy, 3 of them. And then that's a very nice multiple if it works out. That being said, that's about as far as I would try to do it, simply because I see the reflexive bounce on these 4-hour charts. So we have earnings coming up. We talked about NVIDIA the last time we were together. And I was talking to Sarah, one of the pro members, and she said Rigetti was closely tied to NVIDIA somehow. She was looking for a Rigetti buy. And so we can look at that in terms of way down the chain. But the question is, are we seeing enough big volume that helps us position for an NVIDIA trade? And that's possible, but I would say that the option sellers are probably going to win this motion because so much is in flux. We've got whether they're going to sell the China trade or whatever it is that's going to go on with that. What we did see is a bounce right off the edge, just like the broad market. So if you're saying to yourself, well, maybe I can trade a bounce into the end of the day, how does that look? And so it's a little expensive, but it's also something that you can do and position in a way that allows you to say, hey, do I have a good feel about reflexive price action? And can I trade it intraday? Because these are the places where buy zones look the most responsive. So if I actually move back our studies and I put this in, it's very noisy, but it's going to tell me what we need to look at in general. You can see it bouncing right off of that floor. Here it is coming into that opening candlestick formation. And so it should come to the top of the range at about 220 before it ends up doing something else. So this candlestick is going to be the key thing for us to watch in
Interesting.
grand fashion. So what it's trying to do is recover off the floor. Notice in trend, where you buy it becomes very important. So if you're buying a reflexive bounce in a negative formation, you don't want to be buying it up here. You want to try and buy down here. So you set an alert at that line. When it comes in, you go in there and you buy the 2022. Could it be that the move's already left us? Yes. But if it gets up here into this 930 open candle, it's very likely to give some of it back. It's very, very likely to give some of it back. So if it gets above 221 and starts giving you a wick, you know it's going to walk back down that candlestick again. But a lot of times you're going to see this happen. This floor, we saw it from day before yesterday, or was that yesterday? Yesterday sometime, but the bigger picture really tells us from that 4-hour behavior event where we can see old resistance becomes new support or new, good golly, friend, what are you doing? Yeah, resistance, support, retest of support.
Yep.
Always look to the left. We know, looking to the left. And here's the thing. The reason we miss out on really great trades like this intraday is because we're terrified of buying things when they're falling. And we should be, but always realize that price never falls arbitrarily, especially in these big names that have institutional strength and price actions that are relatively clean. And so that's my study moment for the day.
Okay.
Trading this, I would wait, literally, I would still wait after earnings. But let's talk about what to do if earnings tell us one thing or another. And let me take all of these highlights off because they're maddening to look at. All right, so here's what we've got. We've got our pivots, which I absolutely love. You know, if you don't use pivot points, I would say give them a go and realize that they're going to be really great for you in grand fashion. So here we have earnings tomorrow.
Anne Marie, really,
Yeah.
let me jump in here real quick. I use persons pivots in Thinkorswim. I don't know if you have any thought on persons versus what a different pivot
What
study.
is, you know, I would say whichever one calls to use the one you should use. And I know that sounds like I'm punting, but here's the thing. When we take a look at price action and something speaks to us and says, oh, that makes all the sense in the world, don't go off and use something else. Learn to dig into what you see that makes sense to you, and then learn to build ancillary things around it that can help you build a stronger structure. So I use just the standard pivots. I don't know if those are persons pivots. I don't know if they're Woody's pivots. I don't know what they are. They just say
The
pivots.
study in Thinkorswim would literally say persons pivots if that's what it was.
No, I just use the standard pivot. So either one of them, any of them work. Your goal is not to use it as a hard line in the sand. Your goal is to use it as a place where you go, I better watch what these guys and gals are going to do around here. I think it's going to matter. And that's really what we use them for. So from this perspective, we can see starting over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 4-hour candlesticks, what we have is marked compression. So the traders are settling into, okay, either I'm not going to buy anymore, I'm not going to sell anymore, I'm just going to sit tight, wait for the earnings, and then I'm going to chase whatever is there. If you are that type, the number one thing to watch for is, are you breaking above the prior day's pivot? That's tomorrow after the close, right? So you would look at whatever pivot began tomorrow, whatever that pivot ends up being, because these are dynamic, they're going to switch. That's what you want to watch. Above it, you're going to lean long. Below it, you're going to lean short. But these edges tell you the likelihood of motion. So using today's pivots, we have 234 and 203. Let's go see how the traders are positioning there. 224, so 225, there's 21,000 there. There's 25,000 at 230. Oh, let's look at yesterday's. Yesterday, I was talking with the Benzinga Pro guys and gals, and I said, hey, listen, we had a ton of volume come in at the 230, the 235, and 240. So yesterday's calls, we had at 230, we had 30,800 of them. Today, we have 46,000. So we know they're leaning long into the press because open interest will be the net long openings. For 235, we had 45,000. Today we have 59,000. So they're long into the press. And then 240, we had 58. Now we have 68. So everybody's long into the press. So here's the thing. If it turns out that price action fades, the market makers don't have anything to do. They just sit back and go, that's fantastic. You guys bought those calls. I sold them. Life is good for me. Nothing
Look at
to
all
worry
these
about.
call buyers.
Exactly. If for happenstance, though, we start breaking through these edges, and you want to remember them, 230, 235, 240, because that's where the legs are sitting. We got some crazy ones up here at 250. But if it starts moving in that general direction, the market makers are going to have to buy the stock, which is going to make it propel even further
more,
to the north. So if you're staring this down and you say, what are we, 234? So let's go, if we go 235 to 240, if you say, hey, listen, I believe this is long action and it's going to give me this at the earnings, literally $68 for $500 of upside. So you're getting about $430 right there if it continues to move. If these guys at 250 are right, that's huge. Chances are they're not, but if they are, it's fantastic. If you want to take an outside shot and say, I'm going to buy the 240 and I'm going to sell the 250s, it's, what is that? $9 more, but it's now $1,000 of upside if it heads to that edge. If you're a big bull, go and do it. The same thing on the flip side. There are not a lot of bears sitting here. And so the question becomes, what if they're wrong? And how can I participate if they are? And so notice how cheap these puts are. The 200 put, which is 20 bucks away, which the chart can move in no time flat. If you do the 200 190s, that is 68 cents. You could do that into the earnings. You could do it tomorrow, see if you can get it cheaper right before that edge. But remember what I showed you last time. These charts have been generally sideways through the candle ranges into earnings for quite a while. And so let's go to this one and expand on it. But we're going to use a daily. Notice what's been happening. We've got a ton of, why did that disappear? We have a ton of sideways action on the broad formation. And here are the earnings, drops off a cliff and then recovers. Here's another earning, bounces and then drops off a cliff and then recovers. And then here's another one, drops off a cliff and then recovers. So the last 3 earnings, they've been taking their money off the table into and just post the earnings event. So is past prologue? Maybe. It could continue, or it could
Here's my thing.
Start rocketing to the upside. Yeah, go ahead.
I think this could definitely continue, and here's why. Who doesn't own NVIDIA at this point? I feel like every fund owns this, right? Every hedge fund, every retirement fund, so many people already have exposure to NVIDIA that unless you have some print that's just mind-bendingly good, you're probably not going to get the reaction. And you're outlining the 3 previous times where they put up a good number, they beat, but the stock just traded down. And so I'm thinking we might be in line for that again. And I think back to when we first talked about NVIDIA, where you said, it might make sense to trade this after the print. Well, let it come in and then try buying it there and see if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And give it a few days after the buy space. We are not in an environment anymore where we have runaway trains after earnings.
Yeah.
We really aren't.
They might pop right away, but a lot of the time they regress back to the mean. Brian here trying to prove me wrong says never been long NVIDIA. Brian, do you have a 401k or an IRA? I got news for you. You're long NVIDIA if the answer is yes to that, but maybe not directly. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. And so that's something really important to consider. On top of that, I just finished all the 13F analysis. I know I promised it to you. But what all of that analysis said was, they are positioning very defensively. They're positioning very defensively into this next quarter. And yes, those are 45 days old. A lot of people go, oh, they're 45 days old. They don't tell us anything. A lot of these guys don't make rotations except maybe every 6 months. Every quarter, they move a little bit in or a little bit out. Knowing where they're positioning definitively gives you the floors to that. And one of the things that looked very, very bullish is Google. And so Google just finished its earnings, popped up, and it's held the flow. Now the market is in a little bit of rotation. My thought is if this thing comes in to that 365 area, it's going to be a buy. It's definitely going to be a buy. And so I've got that on the list. When it hits the region, we'll be in like Flynn, as it were, and just chase it in with the big money. Institutional flow has positioned very dramatically here. Why? Escapes me currently. But, if we're looking at the AI race, if they could get something going with Gemini, because Gemini is awful unless you're writing papers. Gemini does
Yeah.
not code. Gemini is terrible, really terrible if you're looking for analytics. But, if they can sort of clean that up and DeepMind gets itself off the ropes into doing something else, this could really move. And I think that's where they're positioning as this being the hyperscaler that's going to take us to the next level, which I find to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Google's big businesses here is going to be search, right, and ad revenue and all of that. So now if you add Gemini to that, you can really kind of boost this thing. I like Google. This is my favorite of the Mag 7 stuff.
And here's
YouTube.
Yes, true. I wonder if AI will continue to cannibalize advertising and search, simply because when I'm looking for an answer and I go to Google, I just look at the AI overview, unless I'm looking for something specific. And at that point, I think they figured that out. And so now they have their sponsored stuff at the top,
Right,
and then the AI stuff right underneath it. But yeah, I think advertising pulls them through. And if they're able to leverage, if they can really leverage AI, it's good space. But that one, as I was reading through everything, that one looks really, really good. One of the other ones I wanted to talk about was ServiceNow.
Oh, perfect.
Everybody was all gung-ho over this. And listen, is it breaking a downward formation? Yes, it is. Could it easily be a buy point? Absolutely. And so what you want to think about, though, is what happens when price action is weak and a stock is trying to recover under weak, broad market action. It has a tendency to retrace when it's got these downward 50 simple moving averages. And so for me, all the hype about now over the last couple of days has made me go, it feels like there's some kind of shorting event going on in here. And they are. All of these people who bought here and thought, woohoo, we're going to 200, have been hanging on. And when it fell off the rails and then tried to recover again, all the bag holders right here, particularly weak retail hands, because retail hands have the hardest time holding on because they are the least capitalized. And so retail hands are going to shake out and go, at least I'm break even. I'm getting out of here. And so what I would like to see is ServiceNow come back into the 95 area, fill the gap of noise, and potentially come into this zone. So easily, I would say it's not a bad place to this iron condor looks really great still. Okay, so here we have a couple of different things. This was the one that I put in play, the 100 105 call spread. Of course, it's up over that number now, right? But this is the place I think it ought to go. And I understand that's deep in the money, right? It's all the way on the other edge. But I think this is where the chart fades. If you don't want to do that and you go, that's bonkers, lady, then you can sell the 110, 115. And what you can do, oops, that's not for May, friend. You want to go to June to give it some room to shake itself out. June. You go the 110 to 115, it's 155 by itself. And then for the short, I wouldn't go any higher than 90 because I think this chart has got the ability to fall on its face. And you get half the spread. 235 gives you the iron condor. It looks good to me, at which point it's going to be a buy again. So two things you can do. You can wait until it heads down here to 95, and then go long call spread, or you trade the short into the fringe and anticipate that price action will fade and you can turn around and move in the other direction. But trend and relative momentum tell me that this chart is going to come back, very likely going to come back into, at the very least, that 96 area.
You know what I would love for that chart is I'd love for it to, on this run, go to like 110 and then pull back towards 100 and a hold. And if it did that over the next week or two, you'd actually have inverse head and shoulders on that daily.
Yes, and that would look very, very
Indeed.
nice. Here's what's interesting. It hit that 110 almost on the nose, opened up there, and just like the entire market, just gave everything back. And so that's the important thing to focus on. How the broad market is behaving is going to really affect you as a trader. So you want to be careful that when you're positioning in the direction of overall motion.
And that's awesome. That's one of the reasons why we cover it. Even if you're not trading it, we cover the direction in which it's moving. All right, Anne-Marie, great stuff. Again, look, we both had internet trouble, but we made it. We made it.
Yes, because we're champions.
That's right. Now, our next spot is going to be a week from this Friday. So I will not be with you on the show until May 29th.
All
right. Little vacation.
Looking forward to it. I hope you have a good time.
Oh, I will absolutely have a good time. I can promise that. Anne-Marie, thanks for everything. As always, have a great rest of your week, right?
You too.
That is Anne-Marie Baiynd. And folks, we are all set here for today. Looks like my internet's back on. Hopefully I don't get another notification that we're going to have trouble tomorrow. But big time shout out to all of you for being patient. Big time shout out to 13 for helping me out. We will be prepared, and we're not going to have any little problems stop us. That's not how we live our lives around here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you next time.